Confirm.
But I did appreciate him posting what was essentially bait, because he was like, come on, man. You know you want to do it. Just do it. Just write a reply. Write an op-ed. I'll publish you. I'll do it. Do it now. Do it. Do it. Do it now. Respond to my call. And it's like, I'd rather not.
Respond to your call.
Respond to my call. Send it to the refinery. And I'm like, man, maybe I don't want to. But like, the bait is tempting. But I don't think I want to be the guy that legitimizes an argument saying, oh, don't worry about Taylor Swift. We have this like 58-year-old boomer in sunglasses and a cowboy hat, and that's our culture. Like, you're better than this. Or at least you should aspire to be better than this.
That's incredible. Like, it's just the cat turd thing it's incredible. But yes, Saluta in the chat. This is the Digital Archipelago episode
77.
Oh my god, we're almost at 80. 07's in the chat. We have the entropy link up, and of course, if you want to go to PayPal, my Patreon, Prude's stuff, his what is it? Subscribe Star. I was for some reason I was thinking of Give Send Go, or as PPP likes to say, Griff Scam Glow. But yeah, 07's in the chat. All hail Beaver Gang. Choam sends its regards. I didn't actually read the Boomer the take about Taylor Swift. Like we were talking about the Mr. D space last night. I personally think the Taylor Swift thing is some kind of a nothing burger because of the demographics that would be galvanized by Taylor Swift to ride with Biden this year. I think it's definitely real. Like, I know Semiagog was arguing this point, but I think that like Taylor Swift, she appeals to millennial cat ladies, aging millennial women, young girls, and gay men. Three demographics that aren't going to really vote for Trump. So
no.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but so did you read the cat turd thing, the bait article? I love the format. I had this tweet where I said, the accelerationist left, they have Donna Haraway, but we have Bronze Age Shoddy. So she's a lovely girl. Listen, I mean it with love because she's a friend of mine, and
I don't think she's at the capacity of Donna Haraway and the corpus of work Donna's put out.
Maybe. True, but that's the joke.
I mean, maybe that's not a good comparable take on where to stand. Just like, that's right, Donna Haraway, and then the Cthulhu scene, and then don't worry, everybody,
we have
Bronze Age Shoddy. I mean, both of them are like, well, Donna's in her 50s now, but they're both childless thinkers, I guess, right?
Well, I had another one where it's like, the left, they may have Judith Butler, but we have Dasher and Nekrasova. Some of the ones, like Matthew tweeted a great one where I can't say it for stream because it's got the magic word, letters and a certain act of I can't mention on YouTube, but it was a Groiper one. It was pretty funny. I think it was like Noam Chomsky and RP Austrian painter, those numbers Groiper. So it's
yes, thank
the left may have Noam Chomsky, but at least we have this guy. So
basically the argument was for the piece was, and it's actually really short. It's like I want to say like 1,100 words tops, probably less, maybe like 800. But just like, listen, guys, like we can push back against the Taylor Swifts of the world. Like, there's no point in pushing back. Maybe there is, but it's just like, one is a multimedia like pop star and has been for like almost 20 years, and the other one is a boomer who worked construction and then created an account that made Kissinger like cry, apparently. Like, there's just a huge difference between demographics to a point where this was almost pointless and just raw-rawing to people. Because like, the question I was thinking about this the other day when I saw like Matt Peterson just like do the whole bait thing, like, reply, I dare you. You can write in my publication. This isn't Substack. And I was like, first of all, there are way better Substacks than this. And then secondly, everyone and their mother knows who Taylor Swift is by sheer popularity and cultural staying power. If I were to ask like the regular GOP voters, if I were to go canvassing like this weekend, do you know who Cat Turd is? Almost no one. I don't know.
If it's a GOP fundraiser, maybe they might know.
Maybe, but a lot of the guys I actually know who, in my county GOP that I speak to regularly, most of them aren't on Twitter. Most of them get their stuff from Facebook. So unless Catford has a Facebook account, then I doubt many people know him.
I think he does, but no, but unless like I think that like it's a very like it's an obvious bait comparison because you can't really compare the two. I mean, Taylor Swift. I mentioned this in D Space, like, when you really think of it, maybe because the Super Bowl thing, maybe it's because of the archetypal nature of the cheerleader and the football star that, can you really think of any other celebrity? Like any other pop musician, like what happened to them? What happened to Katy Perry? What happened to, all the old ones that nobody cares about from the 2000s, like Kesha, who cares about them? But like, what happened to Katy Perry? What happened to Beyonce? What happened to, they can't talk about Kanye anymore. Like who's the second to Taylor? Like Taylor Swift is really like the pop star the Capitol has like created into like the perfect synthesis of all pop. Like I know Mr. D played some songs of hers on the Space, and it's like, to me, it's like generic. It's like, who cares? Like it's
generic slop.
Yeah, like it's not even bad. It's not even good. It's just, Ariana Grande. Who cares about Ariana Grande? Who cares about who's the one that says she's non-binary? Selena Gomez, or was it Ariana?
I have no idea. No, it's Demi Lovato, but I think this is because
Demi Lovato, isn't she?
Well, didn't she also have like the huge? Well, she got chubby, but she also had like the huge overdose problem a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
Where it's just like I want to be a hotter item on this like media cycle than Demi Lovato's spoon. Like I remember, like this is in defense, I guess, of the piece. If I want to play
Billie Eilish, I guess people care.
If I want to play like the contrarian BoomerCon advocate, like one of the people I grew up like listening to that I appreciated for his sort of musical parodies was Remy from Reason Magazine, who would do all of the like song parodies about what was going on in the news. Like he had that he did a parody of the song Closer about like Trump's inauguration, where he was making fun of like the hypocrisy of both sides, which is the typical like libertarian, like, see, both parties are awful. Don't you want a third option? And I'm like, this isn't the third way most people are talking about on twitter.com, but sure, Remy, I'll listen to you. And he was just pointing out that like the evangelical hypocrisy of voting for a statist that grabs crotch and things. So, I mean, like, I understand like your niche music or e-celeb tastes. Like yesterday, for instance, a guy was at church that yesterday evening for Vespers and Confession and Vigil, and we took a break after the main service for confessions, and all of a sudden, the guy, he walks up to me and he's like, "I know you," and I was like, "Damn it! Like this is the second time someone has come here that knows who I am," and it's just like, "I know you have a rule about it," and I'm like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up! Like I don't want to deal with this." So I guess it happens, right? Like, and he's like, "Yeah, I just moved to the area." And I was like, "Oh no." Because there's someone else who comes to my parish now who like recognized me by voice. And I was like, fuck. This is the one place I like to keep things separate, but too late now.
Well, it's, people mentioned Lana Del Rey getting fat, but Lana Del Rey, like, she doesn't have like that,
Doesn't she have a kid?
Does Lana Del Rey have a kid?
Yeah,
or Demi Lovato?
No, hold on.
I don't think she has a kid.
No, she doesn't have children.
No,
but
really Lana Del Rey is like, it's a pleasantly plump type of thing. It's not like the Demi Lovato.
She's 38 years old, and the songwriter told Harper's Bazaar that she thought about becoming a mother, but God hasn't given her children yet. That's sad.
That's sad.
The same thing with, I mean, because she's only like 3 years older than.
You still have a kid at 38.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, geriatric pregnancies are, they have their issues, but still, like, Taylor Swift's only like 3 years younger than her at 35. So it's just like, listen, either this Kelsey guy puts one in her quick, or, You know,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. You know, but it's the same thing that like it's this weird counter signaling problem where you like look at the optics of things, and this is sort of like the obtuse Christopher
There you go.
Sandbatch. There you go. Thanks, Bubblegum Dark Spit. We appreciate it. It's the same thing that like Sandbatch likes to point out. He's just like, you look at Gavin Newsom and like, yes, Gavin Newsom's despicable, but then you look at him and he's just like a large, successful, like rich, waspy family, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it looks pretty good, you know. But then you remember, oh right, he's evil.
Is Newsom from one of the 9 families that controls California? He has to be, right? Of
Yes.
course.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Same with Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, if like I don't know, I doubt that take about that. If
I don't think it's a psyop. She's just
Yeah.
popular and everyone knows who she is.
yeah, like no, but the take that if she has a kid with Travis Kelce, that like there's gonna be like a millennial baby boom.
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt like the antinatalism will continue until morale is lessened.
Well, I mean,
So-
it's the whole thing where people. I mean, what's the perennial meme about like the winter fall season, right? It's cuffing
Mhm.
season,
Yeah.
right? Like have someone to hold on to make it yours, so you're not lonely during like the winter or the springtime. And it's just like that's not. If your idea is to like just fuck around and to like not be in a committed relationship, and you just have the idea of like casually being with someone because you just don't want to be alone, at a certain point, like you're just gonna be perpetually alone, and that's the big problem where this generation has had less sex than the generation that came before it, and it's not because people got more prudish, it's just because people got way more fucking lonely, and we've like expected more out of our technology to fill the gaps in our like relationship expectations than we did in relationships themselves. And it's like really depressing. There's a book on this that came out in 2011. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I have it in my like large PDF files. Alone Together: Why We Expect More from Technology and Less from Each Other. I mean, she was writing this in 2011 about how like technology fucks up our relationship perceptions. I'm like, yeah, you throw 13 extra years onto that data point. It's only
Who
worse.
was it? Nancy Jo Sales, or was it someone else?
Who?
The author of that book.
Oh, Dr. Sherry Turkle is her name. Sherry Turkle. Turkle.
Interesting.
Yeah. It would actually be there's some chapters in there that would be really fun to review on the show, I think.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Someone wanted us to review the I think it was like Ulrich the Barbarian did this thread about it, about like TV shows having like millennial writing where like you're the enemy and it's
Oh yeah, all the situations where it's like the racial connotations of like the white guy who works at the like the counter or the desk is like always the evil racist. I mean, it's the same thing with shows like Amazon's Hunters, where it's like, oh yeah, we're Nazi hunters and we're gonna get our revenge. And it's just like, how often are we gonna like reiterate this story ad infinitum? And it's because it was what was it? I know you tagged me in it, and it was pretty interesting. Just the whole argument about like every TV show has the scenario where like you have to be on your soapbox. It's the and everybody clapped moment is what it is.
I call it the Obama era drop the mic-isms.
Yeah.
Yeah, like or everybody clapped moment is like you stand up to the evil racist. But you were saying about this book about loneliness, what in particular
Yeah, so no, Alone Together by Sherry Turkle. And I mean, I've read bits and pieces of it because I first heard it on a Father Josiah Trenum had mentioned it, and I thought that I was like, I have to like read this book because the title alone was just called Alone Together: Why We Expect More from Technology. And what's the full title? So I have it up here. Yeah, more from technology and less from each other. So, Facebook, Twitter, Second Life, smartphones, robots. 30 years ago, we asked what we would use computers for. Now the question is what we don't use them for. Now through technology, we create, navigate, and carry out our emotional lives. We shape our buildings. And Winston Churchill had argued that they shape us. The same is true of our digital technologies. Technologies become the architect of our intimacy. Online, we face a moment of temptation drawn by the illusion of companionship without demands of intimacy. We conduct risk-free affairs. And again, this is from 2011 on Second Life and Facebook. And we've turned ourselves into sociable robots that will one day make us, the companions fit for our desires. So AI and things like that. Basically, she goes and looks through like the last 15 years of technology from like the 90s to like 2010 and just sort of tries to explain how the digital terrain has forced us to rely on technology as like an emotional social process rather than actually being engaging in real life intimacy with other people. And I mean, like, I think her thesis has held up pretty well because she has what's called the we are losing our ability to maintain human to human connection, and because we engage in risk-free intimacy, relationships will become relatively nothing more but transactional and prompt-like in how we talk to them, which I thought is pretty damn true. Because I mean, a lot of people do view relationships, not just intimate ones, but also like friendships, as very transactional. Like, I find it strange. Like, if I do something nice for a friend or whatever, I find it just bizarre because they'll be like, "Oh, like I owe you," and I'm like, "No, you don't. I did this out of the goodness of my heart because you're my friend and I love you, not because I wanted to like drop this bomb on you and say, "Ha, you owe me $50, loser." Like, I don't. We're totally transactional these days. You know, oh, let me Zell you, and it's like, no, it's out of the goodness of my heart, man. Like, calm down.
Cash App in the bio.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I know I should mention
it's in the bio.
That is, I put Patreon in the bio.
Yeah, I did the whole Substack in the bio thing. I cannot believe that out of all the shit that he's done, sex bots it still hasn't fixed it. And what's funny too is that, like, I wonder, because like sometimes they'll like random tweets that they follow you, and it'll be like, oh, this person likes your tweet, and I'm like, this is a sex bot. Excuse me, what? Yeah. Like, which Indian guy running the bot network is liking my based tweets? I need to know.
They have like probably 10 phones each bank, or probably more. They're just clicking. But,
yeah, it's like the all those like TikToks or like those behind the scene videos of like the Chinese influencer farms where it's just like a guy with like a giant panel of phones that he's like swiping through and clicking, and it's just,
it looks like a Rackman drum kit.
It really does. Yeah.
It looks like who is that drummer? It looks like Terry Bozzio's drum kit. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Prudent and Gio aren't actually, but we're kind of like, I consider you one of my best friends.
I consider you a friend.
Yeah. No, but best friend. I mean,
well, I haven't met you in person yet, so I don't think I would give you that
hard
title.
To say best friend. Yeah.
But you and I talk regularly, not just on the show. I mean, we go through each other's lives and stuff. Like,
we did. You know, I think we're a part of each other's lives, like you said. So
yeah. I mean, it's not like I'd go out of my way explicitly to just be like, "Oh yeah, he's just some guy I work with." Like, I can't have that attitude for a guy that like I actually enjoy his company. Like,
yeah,
I don't view you as a work friend. You know, like
there you go.
So no.
Well, there's I know I promised I should tone down the Twitter references, but there was a pertinent thing, this thread that Nightmare Vision did that my good friend Wired, who I mentioned him multiple times, but he related it to Thomism, where my Nightmare Vision was talking about dating discourse and friendship, even how by definition, when you constantly like test something, by definition, therefore, it's a very brittle and transactional relationship.
Yeah.
And I said that, you know, I replied to it. I said, when you talk about either erotic love or filial love, the love of friendship, as we know, and then of course my good friend Wired quoted it with a great passage by Augustine, it requires a sort of radical abandonment of the self, and or rather a giving over of the self to the trust of the other. And it's a form of radical vulnerability. And even a good friendship is like this, the way that it is with lovers. But I said modern dating discourse takes that and destroys this truth. Because the truth of modern dating discourse, or even rather any discourse around friendship or interpersonal relationships, like you were saying with this book, is to like constantly test, and you have to make sure that, you know, and you do the shit test and you do the, you know, you always put to the, you know, you see if there's weak points and vulnerabilities. And it's like, you know, that's like a red flag, and that's creepy if a guy does this or a woman does this. And it's like, it really is besides the point how, you know, when you are with actually either with a friend or with a lover, it's like that's to test that relationship is a secret omission of its antecedent, which is that it's not going to last, that it is transactional. That, I mean, you can test friends, but life tests friendships rather than you going out of your way to like prove a point. Like that's very, yeah, the ick is a very, exactly, the ick is a very annoying concept. Now there certainly are icks. Like I know, like with my GF, whenever I talk about Chris Chan, that's an ick for her. So I, she said that once. She's like, I'm getting the ick while I'm listening to you talk about Chris Chan. So it's like,
Oh man. And
yeah,
your
but you know what I mean.
and your girlfriend is online enough to know everything about all this, which is like 10 times worse. She's like, Gio, please shut the fuck up.
Yeah, please don't. No, but I think that, and this is, I think what's so fundamentally distorted about interpersonal relationships, either romantic or even just friendships, is that, or even just like some masculinity grifter type of thing, or like the opposite would be like female dating advice, or even just like the neurosis we have of the around the other. It's like you can't really have a real human moment. I mean, you still can, but to have a real human moment requires a form of abandonment of the self and vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like the thing too, also with like the internet aspect of it all is that there's a certain degree where relationships are purely they stop being, they're not relationships at all, to an extent that they are the conveniences of tribal or social alliance groups, like your Wilfred Bryan basic assumption group, right? Where, oh, like they're on this camp and I'm kind of on this camp. So like for me, I guess that means that like I guess I'm friends with this guy, and then like you get into the whole GC network of group chats and talking to people and making life work for you and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, like if something goes wrong, like bam, you got to cut ties, or you're pressured to disavow, because at a certain point it stops being about friendship and it starts being more so about,
Yeah.
business or anything else. And if you play diplomat, or if you just try and be friendly with a lot of other people and try not to be involved in their drama, that tends to piss a lot of people off. I mean,
I know this from experience.
But both of us do, right? And so it's just like all of a sudden, you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with individuals that either A, don't see the difference between like a personal or like an online type of like, well, we're friendly here on this issue, or at the other end of the day, right, they view it as such a cut to the heart that what one person considers to be, their own deal, for them, it's now like, I must end this man's life. And it's just like, whew. And I mean, like the news cycles do this way more than anything else, right? Like, I mean, how many fractures and breaks have we seen in groups just because their takes on the news, right? Like the Israel-Palestine thing with a certain, quote unquote political party or podcast network and things like that, or even the war in Ukraine dividing up people and things like that. Like it's just the simplest things, and that shows you how tenuous and transactional and, well, we have to be in consensus on this or it's the end of it. And that's just the nature of how the game goes, which of course is really damaging and damning, really, for any prospects of like functioning relationships in real life. Because most people aren't on Twitter. Most people aren't online. I mean, they have their basic presuppositions and moral axioms that you have to deal with, and you should be aligned on those things. But again, ironically, some of my favorite people to talk to on this website are like, COH and Slaw, from like these people are sick. Like, I disagree with them on a lot of moral axioms and presuppositions, but they're interesting people to talk to. I wouldn't want them in charge of anything, but like, but I have to draw on all of these things, and it allows you to have a weird, because Twitter isn't real life, but it is real life, and it does warp your perception of how you conduct yourself offline. Which is why I try to have that divide in my real life, but that's slowly being blurred, and I'm not a fan.
Well, there's certain shows or whatever that I probably won't be invited to because of my opinions on certain conflicts, which is a good reminder of two things. One, need those super chats. I have yet to check Entropy, but I'm assuming that a lot of people are going or donating to Entropy instead of anyways, and also like about the recent brouhaha with Tucker interviewing Putler. We'll probably cover that next week when we actually see the interview. I know you're going on the Old Glory Club tonight, right, Prude? Or...
Yeah, we might cover it. We might actually delay the show just so we can watch it and then respond or react to it. Because I think honestly, Russians with Attitude has the best take on the interview, where it's like either like Putin gets to talk about what he wants, or it's going to be the kind of boring platitudes of like multipolarity, the success of the military operation, etc. So Tucker needs to be on his A game, because I mean, like the last good Putin interview is all the Oliver Stone interviews,
The Oliver Stone ones, the CNN ones were terrible. The ones that are in European media is probably more interesting, but there's the language barrier. But the Putin speeches themselves are quite interesting. I mean, the whole Empire of Lies one in the beginning of the war. But yeah, the Oliver Stone ones. But of course, like the media people, they're like, we tried to get an interview with the Kremlin and we couldn't do it. But it's like, why do you think, like, okay, first of all, that's probably a lie. Second of all, why would you want to why would the Kremlin want to consent to an interview with CNN now? Right? Like, did you see that one with was it Soledad O'Brien, or was it what's her name, Kapoor, the Indian one that does the foreign policy?
Christine Amanpour or whatever from CNN.
Christine Amanpour, yeah, she was there during Sarajevo, and she's like, I was trembling while interviewing Slobodan Milosevic. It's like, she did this interview with Zelensky where she's like, do you have moments where you do you try to relax? Do you listen to music? Do do you really? It's like, yeah, like very objective news reporting. But no, I think
listen to Mr. President. Do you have to just Svetlana come out of a cake and sing "Happy Birthday, Mr. Putin"? Do you too? Are you like Kennedy? I love your movies. I don't know. Have fun with it, I don't know. If you're because he's expecting, just propagandistic, schlock talking points, and it's just we like to have a good time over here, just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Tucker to just Vatnik post either. I mean, I'm pretty sure but I mean, will he give him softballs, or will he, really?
We'll find out in a few hours, I guess.
We'll find out. Yeah. But I don't know. I wanted to save it either for Content Miner next week, but did you maybe it'd be better to do it here, because we don't know what's going to happen in the interview, obviously, if it goes 1 hour or 2 hours. But did you read this post that Endeavor shared on Telegram about Russia?
No, I didn't. Which one?
About Russia being European?
No, I didn't.
Maybe I should just read it, because the thing is, I mean, I don't agree with Endeavor on his take. He's more pro-Ukrainian than I am, but I think it was a really good post about this spectacle of the Tucker thing. And where is it? I still follow Endeavor on Telegram. It's from this, forwarded by Siberian Tigers.
Yes.
Maybe I should just read it. Some of the phrasing's kind of I could tell that's probably not English as a first language person, but whatever, I'll get through it. It's not that long. The real reason for the close attention to Tucker Carlson in the Russian information space is not all servility and sycophancy, as sharp-tongued commentators write. The real reason is the complete unnaturalness and alienness of the turn that is currently taking place in Russia towards the global south, quote unquote. No Russia-Africa summit, no ceremonies about the world majority, quote unquote, no fraternal and close relations with China and Iran. And Iran can hide one simple truth. Russia is a European country, and Russian society, for the most part, is absolutely Europeanized. And this is not about the EU or politics. Identifying Europe and the European Union is a crime against logic. Paris, Rome, Venice, New York are all close and familiar, but Tehran, Beijing, Shanghai, and Hanoi are foreign. Caravaggio and Picasso are our own, and Kaisi is a stranger. Alexander Dumas is one of our own, and Yukio Mishima is a stranger. Well, Mishima is anyways, whatever. Alien does not mean enemy, but rather not one's own. There are millions of threads that make Russia part of Europe. from cultural and ideological to culinary, and no political disagreements or wars can break these threads. You can show China and New York, New Year's, Chinese New Year's, and the cheerful faces of African artists on TV as much as anyone you want. But people will throw it away at the first opportunity to watch Tucker Carlson. In the same way, tours to sunny Isfahan will instantly change to the usual Paris trips with warnings of relations and the returns of Schengen. The European sense of self is quite fair to the entire Russian society, quite fair for the entire Russian society, including its most conservative and radical parts. Moreover, if people with liberal views can find many like-minded people among their European colleagues and always feel that they are part of the pan-European mainstream or the entire range of social political issues, then conservatives have a much more difficult time. Russia, with its anti-liberal and conservative views, falls out of the pan-European mainstream, and therefore it is all more gratifying for them to see that in other parts of Europe, in the European world, there are like-minded people for a hand for military methods of resolving disputes, for the traditional family, and for the like. God forgive me, 2 toilets at the end of the corridor. And such views exist in large European family. You will not lose the context and, as they say, the worldview, and therefore I do not have the slightest doubt that the future of Russia is precisely in the European world and present, in fact, as it is. Alexei Naumov, Russian International Affairs Council, an Endeavor, says this interesting perspective on why Russia's turn away from the West and towards the global South will inevitably fail. Now, keep in mind that this is coming from, this is shared by, Endeavor, who's obviously more, from his perspective is more pro-Ukrainian. But I think it was a great post, I mean, I disagree with Endeavor maybe on the war, or maybe not really, but probably, yeah, I probably disagree with Endeavor. But, I think that was a good post that he shared by Siberian Tigers, by the Russian affairs minister, because I think that, we can sort of lie about history, and I think both sides are lying about it, because the Europeans are like, the Russians are Asiatic orcs, and then for the Russians are like, we're part of the global majority of global South, and we're Eurasianists, and whatever Dugin has to say, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at it, it is a sort of tragic development in affairs between, I think a part of what it means to be European, and I think the Slavic element is being downplayed now, but that still is an element, at least in my opinion. So I don't know, what do you think about that, Prude?
Well, I think the racial aspects of this conflict isn't going to go away anytime soon, especially amongst the more anti-Russian nationalist side of things in the European, new right or far right. I mean, that will still ever presently be there. But I mean, whether it's, despite schism, I mean, whether it be Christianity or whether it be having its own problems with Islam or, of course, sort of the great modernizations in the 17th century with Peter the Great, like there are a lot of European ties to it. One of my world history professors in college had said that what makes Russia a particularly unique place is that it's 3 things at once. It has ties to the East, but it is still deeply European, but it is still a civilization that hasn't really figured out what it wants to be yet. And little did I know he was cripping from Spengler.
Spengler's.
And I didn't read Spengler in college. I didn't read it until much later in my 20s. But and I've always kind of held that opinion. Like they're like they have a foot in both camps, so to speak. Like, yes, their international relations and foreign policy is still predicated on a post-Cold War order that forces them to kind of look eastward to an extent. I think that will hurt them, at least when it comes to China. But I mean, it's not a bad take. I mean, at the end of the day, right, I think that for the average Russian, I mean, there's still an interest in what happens more so in Europe than there does on the other side of the world, because, you can talk about like Slavic orcs or bugmen or Asiatic hordes or whatever, as some mid-century appreciators like to say. I think that they don't like the Chinese bugman as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'd have to read up more on my Russian history to give you a thought more on that. But I mean, I don't see too much wrong with that position.
What is happening with China today, Prude? As Mr. Anxiety Floppa asks, is China making waves anywhere? I mean, well, with Iran, I guess, but
I mean, there is a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, everything that you're going to hear, a lot of American reporting on China is always going to be about about
Economy.
well, either about the economy or hacking or infrastructure. Like, it's always going to be some kind of like rivalry news, which of course I would totally expect that to really be the case. Also, I think isn't it like Chinese New Year's right now, right? Or like, is that
Oh
recently happened?
yes, is it coming up or is it here?
Yeah, it's this Saturday. So yeah,
Okay, there
like
you go.
Chinese New Year is right around the corner.
Along with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl. I'm not invested in the Super Bowl. I
Yeah, me
know
neither.
I know the whole sports ball discourse. I like baseball more than I do football, if I'm being completely honest. But that's just me. So I guess like there has been the most recent news I saw is that South Korea is having talks with China's and Russia about how to restore diplomatic relations countries and to facilitate a greater communication for diplomacy. That's really the last thing that I saw on my little RSS feed for foreign affairs news. I'm actually going to make a community post, and I was going to do it today, but I've been away from my desk and at a job interview this morning. But I was going to start asking people because I want to return to geopolitics, because that's why a lot of people are still subbed to me. And I need to get back to that. I want to do more theory and literature based lectures, but also cover the news. So I mean, I'd like to get back to that one day. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Korean situation's interesting, but I mean, I mean, both countries have their own problems, but I think will integration happen in our lifetime? Who knows? I mean, we're looking at a future where in some ways maybe North Korea might actually be more stable demographically than South Korea. You never know. But it's yeah, it is what it
Yeah, I
is.
mean, it's funny. I have a regular conversation with an older gentleman in my parish. He's like in the guard, and he's just like, you know how happy China would be if we like went to war with them, because like we'd solve their demographic problems about like all these like extra 100 million young men that they don't know what to do with. Like they'd
Yeah.
be like, come on, like fry us, like fry this rice. I dare you. Like, come on, you're doing us a favor. And it's just like, yeah, we probably would be, and it wouldn't be very good for us. So it's just like,
Yeah, like the stream, give a boost to the algorithm and need those super chats. So now I have entropy. I just have to email or whatever. I have to email them, because it's we'll see what happens. But anyways, one last bit before we get to Camille Paglia. I guess the well, everyone's really like gearing for this Tucker thing. But another huge news item is, of course, the border bill, which I think is basically a way of it's like what you described as or was it you or Oren that described the ratchet? That's what it is. It's like it's a way of extorting Republicans. That's all it is.
yeah, I mean, he calls it the neocon cycle. I talk about the ratchet. The ratchet has a pawl that stops you from turning back, and that's what Republicans do. They never let you turn back on that issue. So, but the border aspect of the aid bill died, and there was an announcement that said that they have the votes to ensure, quote unquote, that they can get the Ukraine ad out. And I said, brought to you by Dewey, Fuck You, and Hal Consulting, because the Senate has the votes to advance Ukraine aid without border package. Because I
Oh
mean,
my
let's face it,
God.
like James Langford of Oklahoma looks like a sociopath, and like the New York Times is defending him and his Baptist faith over his border bill and aid to legalize millions of illegals, and it's just like, nope, he's gotta go.
His
We gotta
eyes are so
we
weird.
He just looks like a man that is like, yeah, I've skinned a few people in my lifetime. Tell me more about yourself. Like he just looks like he's like Dexter. He's that if my dark presence had a physical manifestation, it'd be Senator James Langford from Oklahoma. Thankfully, however, that portion is dead. The House said no. That Mike Collins guy from Georgia is just like, import third world, become the third world, and it just
Yeah,
makes
that was great. Yeah.
it makes you miss all those Stephen King tweets about defending like white Anglo-Saxon civilization, and it's just like, I miss Steve King. He's got those A10s. He's truly one of us.
Didn't he get in trouble? Like they called him a Austrian painter fan.
They
or
call
whatever?
yeah. I mean, they called him a They basically just like kicked him out.
Yeah. Why though? Did he do anything like on optical, or was it just media? Like it's like I don't know, like libtards, they like have a select target of politicians.
Because he had made comments to the New York Times questioning why is white supremacy considered offensive. Like,
oh my god, that's
based.
crazy. That's man.
Like, why is it offensive? They built the world, and it's just like, King. You remember?
Oh, did you see Stoncil like Haiti posting?
I saw that. Eventually, we're just giving this guy way more attention than he deserves.
Yeah, let's not even mention it. But because
someone was talking about like, well, we need a movie with a real budget about the Haitian Revolution. And I'm like, buddy, I see that every day on Twitter.com. Like, what do you mean? Like
every single day is the Haitian Revolution.
I was like, I know what ethnic genocide looks like. I see it every day on my timeline. You have your movie for the Haitian Revolution right now. Like, what are you talking about?
Get the board, the farmer, pa. I love when he does the blue paw. Like that's, yeah. Malema is back in the news too. That's like, speaking of revolution. Speaking,
like I know the answer to this. Have you seen Africa a Dio?
Oh my god! But no. But about the border bill. So they're not? So they're just gonna give. I knew this was gonna happen. They're just gonna give money to Ukraine. Not to the border. Who cares, right? It's I heard I don't know if it's true or not because it was reported by that big news. What's it called? Disclosure TV.
Disclosed TV. That's notoriously bad for changing the context of the news and fucking the actual headline.
But is it true that Biden said that if Republicans vote against it, they're going to like lax border control even more just to like threaten Republicans? Is that true? Or is
I do not know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably spiritually true. It's spiritually true. But so so they're not going to fund the border. They're not going to give
like the how I understand it, the blowing up of the deal. And of course, he's blaming Trump on it too. That the GOP doesn't have a spine.
Oh, I saw that speech. Yeah,
sorry that like the base realized that they're being the GOP would only accelerate their replacement. Like, fuck off. Yeah. But I don't know if it was the whole he's like threatening to. I thought that Senator Chris Murphy on MSNBC yesterday saying like, well, yeah, this has been the Democrat message for like 30 years that we care about undocumented Americans more, and it's like, yes, we know. We know anything but white people. We know, Senator.
There's even more dreamers. Yeah. More dreamers.
And it was funny too because like I remember when I was in high school, like some guy, because I went to high school in El Paso, or I finished high school there, and like some guy came in as like a DACA advocate during like the Obama years, and he was just all like, "This is how it works." And I was like I'm just sitting there taking notes. With a little notepad and a pen, and I was like doing the math, and I'm like, this only applies to like such a tiny percentage of people. Like, there's still millions of illegals in this country that have to go. And then he like, and he's like, and the guy was like, you have a question? And I was like, no, I'm just taking notes. I'm just clearly recognizing that you don't belong here. I just didn't say any of that shit out loud. Just like, I was like, this doesn't apply to a lot of people. Like, it's like ever recurring meme of like 15 photos that make you want to say fuck having borders and shit. Like, it's that every time. Every time. Like, we have never escaped the 19th century critique of telescopic philanthropy that Charles Dickens wrote about in Bleak House. We are all stuck in Mrs. Jellybee's longhouse about helping some poor group of people halfway around the world. We have to bring them here. We have to help them. We have to raise money for them. No, I don't. I got enough problems here at home.
Yeah.
No.
Have you seen California?
Disenfranchised. Go back home. Get thee to a nunnery. None of this bullshit.
Have you seen the east side of Vancouver in my context? Like, there's plenty of homeless people.
Have we seen that video of all those, like, obviously non-British people lining up for a dentist's office? Like, come on.
Remember Keith Woods reply? Oh my god, it was some like lib that in Ireland about this like line to get healthcare or whatever, and it's all like migrants, right? And he's like, I can't believe that there's protests about anti-immigration when this is happening in the country. And Keith Woods just replied with, well, I can't imagine how immigration could affect this issue.
Yeah.
Like, my God.
Can't imagine how that would ever exacerbate this problem. Holy shit.
So they're just going to fund Ukraine now. They're not going to fund the border. Is that what they killed the bill?
For right now, that answer is yes. For right now. I'm sure that they will revisit this and try and find a way to fuck you over even more.
No, but the bill itself is just an extortion because what was it, 20 million for the border, 60 million to give Israel more missiles, and of course 60 billion to fund Ukraine to make them survive till at least maybe the summer, even though apparently the Russians are taking Andreevka soon. So, like, okay, like, so then Biden goes like, if the Republicans don't vote for this, that means they really don't care about the issue. It's like, it's like a Saw movie. It's like a Saw movie where it's like, if you don't saw your leg off, that means you really don't care about living, do you? Like,
I want to play a game. You take $53 million for illegals, and then we give $2 billion to Israel. Take your choice. You have 30 seconds. Just like,
and
I want to play a game.
The really crazy inhuman part.
You can chop off your arm, or you can give $2 billion to Israel.
No, but they're giving 16 billion to Israel to arm them, right?
Yeah.
But in the bill, they're also giving money for Palestinian medical care and refugee relief. So it's like you're paying for the bombs to redact people in Gaza.
You're paying for the bombs that will further lead people to become future refugees that come to your border.
And you need to give money for those refugees as well, or for medical care for the Palestinians. But that you wouldn't require that money if you didn't give Israel more. It's
the black people Twitter meme. Like, you got McDonald's money, like you got Israel money, you got border money,
That's like to quote, speaking of black, to quote Boondocks, it's like, man, that's just the hard art technology. Where it's like technology that just complicates your life rather than like.
And it's just like, wait a second, I'm white. Start walking away.
No, that was the word moment.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but still, it's just like, come back here. I want you to like ruin your life for me. And it's just like,
ruin your life right now.
Wait a second, I'm white.
No, but you don't even have to be like a third worldist or like a woke, like, you got the water, like all these Twitter artists. By artists, I mean like Wacom tablet illustrators. They have the watermelon in the bio.
Yeah,
that's apparently a symbol for Palestine. Like, you don't have to be like a trans Palestine supporter to be like, that's inhuman and that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
The ones who don't die in the building collapse or in the bombing, they get they get a paltry little sum for their refugee bill or medical care.
Well, it's all money laundering. I mean, that's what it is. And I mean, like, this is the funny thing about, because like your bread and butter is still for the Democratic vote is the black vote, and it doesn't matter if Candace Owens can tweet ad infinitum about leaving the Democratic plantation or whatever, because who votes? It's precinct captains. And obese, election
workers.
Judges and DMV workers count those votes and vote for you. Like, I hate to break it to you, but like, it's not about like the whole Jim Clyburn fish fry. Like, that's not free. That's to win his approval, so he can tell all of those like election judges and precinct captains, okay, you're going to vote for this white guy at the Democratic primary on Super Tuesday. This is how it works. That's been the story forever since FDR. It's not changing anytime soon. But as we've noticed, when it came to things like the MLK bill, the senator that opposed it and started the investigation, as Sam Francis wrote about it, actually, when you support your own constituents, they tend to vote for you more. And that seems to be this like mystery that everyone forgets.
Yeah.
But
the southern border thing, I mean, it's incredible. Like, it's it's just anyways, we all know the problems. It's really Did you know that there's even NGOs that are getting them through that, what do they call it? That landmass in Panama, which is like a dense forest jungle. They call it like a cork, like a geographic cork, that they're like NGOs in New York that are like trying to get people through. So you have like, not only do you have like Central American people, but you have like the dregs of like South America. Like a lot of cartels like shuffle people through these dense areas, and NGOs are actually like helping members that are like lying about their refugee application that are actually like cartel mules. And they're just like lying to them. And so like you have like Christian and other, which I can't mention, NGOs that are like,
you mean Highest, right?
It was something like that. Yeah. There's like a bunch of secular Christian and other faith NGOs that are like helping like cartel members that lie about their refugee applications. It's like the Colombian border, exactly, Belial. Yeah, the Colombian border, that's where it's at. And then you have to go through Panama, and it's it is what it is. But if the Bukele trend keeps going, maybe we won't have to deal with it because they'll just imprison all of their gang members. So, but the bill, like, and the thing is, like, people don't realize in America, because of course the Western media doesn't tell you, is that most of the money that goes to places like Ukraine doesn't actually translate into munitions, because the West has a huge production problem when it comes to armaments, when it comes to military industrial complex. Most of that money is going to prop up Ukrainian society and like pensions and government workers, and because of course their industrial base has been destroyed. So
you got to pay the piper somehow.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this just colonialism? Like, why can't America just like be like, yeah, we're colonialists again? Who cares? We're
this isn't even good colonialism.
It's terrible in return for investment.
I mean, like, this is the critique, right? That even and I wonder if because I know Bronze Age Pervert talks about like the difference between globalism and like imperialism. I mean, like the critique of imperialism was that from people like Bill Williams was like it's unsustainable because like eventually like you're not going to have those manufacturers to sell elsewhere, and you're not going to have excesses to import or export to the world and like crush. So like what you're going to do is ironically, he was like predicting globalism, whether he knew it or not, before he died in the 90s. He was just basically saying like, eventually you're going to run out of like manufacturing and you're going to have to find some other good to sell. And turns out it's going to be like capital, and it's going to be through hard power more so than anything else. And it's not going to serve the benefit of the people anymore. Because like you look at America's history of imperialism, even if you read Empire's a Way of Life, which I recommend everyone do, he's just basically saying like, yeah, we've kind of been imperialists from the beginning. And and he was just like, but back then it served the needs of like the actual population of that nation. And, you know, it worked for quite some time. And then the frontier closed, and then we went abroad, and we started screwing around, not just in our own hemisphere, but in the East and in the West. Yeah. And it's a particularly interesting way to look at it. I've covered those things on my channel. If you're interested in, George Bagby's joined me for a couple of streams talking about William Appleman Williams and his work. But it's again, like this is the thing that gets Martin a lot of flack for it. Like, you know, I don't think people would be anti-imperialism if like America decided to just say Saudi Arabia is an American protectorate and we're going to cut a dividend check to all Americans because Standard Oil owns Saudi Arabia. Be totally different. You know, if we had 19th century style imperialism in the 21st century, but they
would have to depose. They would get like the Delta Force to go in there and get rid of House of Saud, and you know, it's like that's what would happen.
But I mean, again, we don't do those things. So like, our current form of administration sucks. And then people are like, well, isn't that just neoconservatism? And it's just, well, the neocons have their own foreign policy issues, and Turnip's been actually covering a great deal of those issues. Whereas
Warren,
Yeah, Turnip has been covering it on his own channel. I was on his recent one talking about, you know, dictators and double standards, some very old Gene Kirkpatrick shit from the 80s, which I haven't read since college. So, and Turnip was like, I haven't read it since college either. And I'm like, you're in college, fucker, shut up. Like, but again, like the difference would be is like, well, a smart American policy maker would be like, what's the return on investment in investing in countries like Israel? And then that leads to some uncomfortable questions because what is the return on investment? And you can make a case that there is a substantial return on investment. I just think that there might be a better way to do it.
Maybe you could say like before the surge, probably like the fact that like, you know, they're like a instability producing machine in the region that, you
Oh,
know,
that was the argument for the
yeah,
Abraham Accords, which I
that's
still
right.
think
Yes.
on paper was actually like really good foreign policy, because like for the first time in like 30 years, the Republican quote neoconservative like foreign policy goal was like sort of a pan-Arab Israel alliance with normalized ties, try to recreate what you did in Egypt to the greater
Yeah.
Arab world with Saudi Arabia as your backer. Like on paper, that was accomplished. That's not a bad policy. And that was arguably probably one of the better foreign policy achievements out of Trump's administration.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that that's a hot take, or some people might think that that's like just me bowing down to the wall or whatever. But like, if your goal on paper is to like try and secure stability in the area and then get the hell out of there, not a bad
Yeah.
policy. I mean, yeah, it helps that Kushner's Jewish and all that jazz, but like,
Oh, is that when
America's
they were in Saudi Arabia? They were holding the orb.
I don't know if that was the orb, like where the orb photo comes from, although that picture goes so hard, you
Yeah,
know?
it does. Yeah, that was good.
It goes so hard. Like there were so many great photos out of the Trump administration, like when he was first there. You know, with the whole he had Shinzo Abe over in Florida, and they had that like Korean missile test, and he's just like looking
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
camera. And it's just like you want him back so
Or him and
bad.
Shinzo staring down Merkel. Like they're
Yeah.
going like, I could paint that. McNaughton should.
Oh
paint
yeah,
that.
where he's just
Yeah.
sitting like this. Yeah.
My favorite
so,
one.
So good.
My favorite one was Trump looking at the camera, and there's a party in the background, and it's like a real moment of like, we've entered a new era, and like he really like on a cosmic level sort of like knows. And it's like all the people are blurred in the background, but it's just Trump looking at the camera like this during a party. He's sitting down. It's like he doesn't have to be a participant in the party. He brought people to the party, and it's like this is a new era. And but you know that hope and optimism sort of gone. And I don't agree with AA's take. I'm much more on Oren's black pilled side. That they're not going to put the woke away. And these people hate Trump so much that, well, I mean, I can't say it for YouTube, but
well, I mean, the way that again, I wrote a whole article on this about why the woke gets put away.
They're gonna give the woke a warm glass of milk.
No, you don't. You don't give the woke a cookie. You don't give it a glass of milk. You don't tuck it into bed. I mean,
just a little bit of chocolate before bed, unless you have nightmares, you know.
just a little taste of flesh. No, but I mean, like the way that the woke gets put away, right, is that conservatives stop giving a shit.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, like, remember
it.
when gay marriage was like one of the most prominent political cultural war issues of our time, and now like a bunch of Republicans like in 2022 voted to like enshrine gay marriage into federal civil rights law? Yeah, I remember. You know, I'm still anti-gay marriage, but apparently like everyone said that hill wasn't worth dying on anymore. Yeah. It's just like that's how the woke gets put away. Eventually, transgenderism will probably be put away by Republicans in our lifetimes.
Mm-hmm. No, so, but that's like, what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
that's how the woke gets put away. Not by, it doesn't get put away, but
no.
Conservatives just stop giving a shit and like go for pettier issues.
Or if they have a moment of revelation, like right before BoomerCons die, and they're like, you know what? I am racist. I am transphobic. I am homophobic. Like that'll never happen. But like if they're just like admit it, like, you know what, you call me racist? Okay. You know, you call me a homophobe? Like it's like they're never like, because at the end of the day, like anything you do, if you are to the right of Bernie Sanders, even Bernie Sanders is like too, you know, sympathetic to the working class. So if you're like to the right of AOC, of course you're gonna get called these things. And it's like people like Charlie Kirk, and like I can't believe it. They're like, you know what? Yeah, I don't really care. You know what? It is a great replacement. Like, you know what? I am homophobic. Like it's like that's what's gonna happen. It's like you're gonna have a whole people that are going to have a collective groan and like, you know what? I don't care anymore. Things have gone too far. But that's not, I don't think it's going to happen. Like what you said is probably more realistic, which is that they're just going to be like, you know what, we're going to move on to something again. We're going to move on to something else, something even more lurid and depraved to focus on. Now it's the trans kids. The trans kids will be normalized. It'll be something else in the future. I can't anticipate what else. Maybe, well, I mean, if you look at Vauch's file he revealed on stream, maybe there'll be something like that. Did you see that, Prude?
I saw something. I don't know what it was. I didn't want to look up.
It was
I
AI
never know what this.
generated.
I never know what these people are up to. Unless like some disgusting person like quote
on
tweets
stream,
it and
he
puts it
clicked
on my
open his
timeline.
files. Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh God.
And he's like, "Whoops!" And he clicked open his files, and it was like
And it was
AI
like
generated.
and it was like porn next to his taxes or whatever.
It was like, yeah, it was hentai.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
there
that's
you
so
go.
depressing.
Listen, not only is Vouch felted, there's no felt on the table. There's no wood on the table. It's right down below the poker. He's at the concrete below the poker table. That's his.
He needs
But
to
no,
back to the coal mines.
yeah,
Just
back
straight
to
up to the coal mines
with cat turd.
with cat turd. They
I
can.
like
They can. I want a sitcom of Vouch and cat turd because like
no,
one of
cat
these
turd's
is like
man. Cat turd's his father.
where like cat turd is just like this like really he's his boss. Like
Oh my god, even
they
better.
work at a business somewhere and they
Vouch is
just have
there, yeah, HR
Vouch
guy.
is there. It would be great, just like
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
It'd be like the
That'd be
Drew
wonderful.
Carey show, but like Vouch is Mimi.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever happened to
Absolutely.
Mimi? Whatever happened to her?
Great question. I have no idea.
Oh
I
man,
have
I like.
no idea.
I like this take by Internet Enjoyer. I'm pro-Ukrainian because I hate Russia, but I'm also pro-Russia because I hate what the West has become. I think it's tragic
Many
that
such cases.
yeah, many such cases. But I think it's tragic that when you actually look at the spending bill, I mean, even if the war were to be over by the summer, which it will not be, the war will probably carry on into 2025, maybe 2026. That Ukraine, kind of like Gaza, will be a world precariat society because their industrial base has been destroyed. Anyone, whether it be the West or Russia, that takes it over, will have to deal with the burden of a displaced and war-torn population. And whether you're pro-Russia, pro-Ukraine, you have to realize that this is a really like an industrial scale human tragedy that is rivaled by maybe World War II. And like, you know what I mean? Like the last time we've had like this, millions of people displaced. I mean, there's other wars too. I mean, the Congo War, there was millions of people displaced. The war in Iraq and Afghanistan, millions of people displaced. But in terms of European history, I think this is the first time, besides the migrant crisis, that was,
Well, yeah, and I mean you had the Yugoslav wars and such.
Oh,
and the breakup
sorry, I missed.
and the breakup of Yugoslavia, and
Yeah.
so everything with
Yeah.
Bosnia and Herzegovina and everything that came out of that. I mean, like this is
Croatia.
it's still a tragedy. And I mean, this, regardless of how you feel about the war, like clearly any time to negotiate sooner rather than later is always preferable. But unfortunately, the way where we're at, it's not happening anytime soon. And the American government has its foreign policy aims and wishes to hand Russia a defeat. And it will do that at any cost possible, at the very least, to keep them intransigent, taken care of, destroyed, whatever. And, we're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. And that's the unfortunate side.
Well, I mean, Yugoslavia, I believe it was 3 to 4 million to 5 million people displaced and about 100 to 200 to 300,000 casualties. Now imagine that number of people displaced have already been about, I believe, 5 or 6 million. And like 400 to 500, maybe if it goes on to 2 more years, close to 1 million people dead.
Yeah.
You never know, right? Like if it goes on for 2 years, definitely 1 million people that have been, KIA'd. But it's I know some of the chats, it's a tragedy they don't really want to be paying for, but
I don't want to pay for it either. I mean, my tax dollars shouldn't be paying for.
I don't think Russians want to pay for it either when you really think about it,
especially with their own blood.
Yeah, so I think
it's just the way that it is. Unfortunately, like there's a reason why Mearsheimer calls it a tragedy.
Yeah,
I mean, really, that is the case. But
I predict a massive Russian economic retraction if they take over a significant part more of Ukraine. There's going to, if they take Nikolaev and they control the Black Sea by taking Nikolaev and Odessa. No, I mean Russia definitely would have to administer economically the remnants of Ukraine, or at least eastern Ukraine, and that would, of course, Russia will enter into like a mini depression after that. The West will probably enter into a huge economic retraction if we were to prop up Ukraine for, maybe 2 more years.
I mean, we've been lying about inflation for how many years now? Like, it's not like we don't have consequences to our economic actions.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think even the Russians know that they will enter an economic slump when the war is over with. I mean, it's bound to happen, right? But I think, can Ukraine recover some economic base? Maybe, perhaps. But the West, in terms of the West, though, what's going to happen, Prude? They're just going to, they're going to let China take care of whatever industry it's kind of like Germany and China, or France and China. It's like we can't run the factories, but the Chinese, they can run the factories. It's like, or they'll ship off the factories. It's, so
I mean, really, only time will tell, really. Again, this conflict, unfortunately, is not over, and I don't expect it to be over any time soon.
No, it's not.
So,
but
and I mean, even if the war ends, right? Like, okay, there's still years of economic reconstruction and things like that. All sorts of stuff.
Well, one last thing before we get to Paglia. It's been an hour so far.
I was about to say.
What do you see, Prude? Because you're obviously more keyed in with American politics and geopolitics. What do you see with the border situation if Trump either wins, or if Biden or Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or whoever, if the Democrats win this year, are they just going to keep the border open? Like, you're not going to have an American border, or like, what's going to happen with?
I don't have an American border now. Like,
I don't have an American border now. Yeah. So, what can they reasonably think they can do with all of these people besides just like let them vote and let America get turned into a Brazilified, mixed third world country? What's going to happen?
I don't have answers to that, because I know a lot of people say Brazilification or South Africanization. America will be indubitably different and will be screwed over and fucked in its own special way. Like, and again, like say Trump gets in there, right? Like, I know Trump isn't really the guy in charge, but I mean, like, if he manages to go out of his way and to
just stop the bleeding, in other words,
that'd be a good start. Like, I mean, this is the thing about sort of the difference between the United States and the United Kingdom and versus the rest of Europe. Like, at least Germany, of all places, at least some people are talking about remigration, right? Like, even France is like, we have to tend to the French first, right? Like, at least there's some discourse about that.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, it's like, we can bring them in. Like, our intelligentsia thinks that we can just import migrants and immigrate our problems and survive the coming, greater macroeconomic problems of collapse and population degrowth and deglobalization. At what point do you not wake up and realize no one believes in anything? We're all little ethnic polyglot enclaves, and like random Guatemalans are grilling pork on like a grill on the side of the curb off like 8th Avenue or whatever.
Bricks.
Propped up by bricks in every American city. Like that, you stop being a country. I mean, in America, you could argue you stopped being a country a long time ago, but still, I don't know what else to say other than, to me, this seems like a very 10 years from now at a certain point. Like, it's I don't know. It's only going to get worse.
I have a kind of like I don't know if this is true or not, but I have kind of a theory cell take, not theory cell, but yeah, I guess so. That I think there's obviously a lot of political energy on the anti-immigration right in Europe. I don't really keep tabs. I mean, I know our friend Patrick Casey, he's having a certain someone of the German right on Rumble at 4. But Martin Sellner. I think that there's political will in Europe because you have to realize it's sort of like landscape painting in Europe as opposed to America. The Group of Seven as opposed to the Impressionists. In that, civilization is always in like around the corner or behind the tree for the Impressionists. In that Europe has always been used to a form of urban density for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, when you really think of America, in North America, especially here in Canada, your urban density has only really been a factor within the 20th century and the 21st century, especially. Most Americans and most Canadians don't really think of like my neighbor is so close to me. And maybe Canada, because Canada is a very urbanized population, but because of like the landscape and because of the openness of Canada, most people don't really think of it in terms of like an archetypal collective psyche that we're an urban people, right? Americans certainly, the romanticism of the frontier, the identity of America, like that is not like the urban sprawl picture of Europe. Americans, the earliest Americans fled Europe. I'm not talking about the indigenous people. I'm talking about like, America, right? They fled
the
Europeans,
mainly Anglos, yeah.
Well, I was reading somewhere that there's some scholars that look at the economic history of America and Europe, and also like the fact that a lot of these, like there's the religious persecution angle, but the angle of that they were escaping urban slums. A lot of like, especially for example, the Quebecois, a lot of them were escaping urban slums in Paris, right? And so there's that history as well. There's a geographic and economic history of why the Americans, developed their own nation state. And so, but I think that's why a lot of people on the political left in America, it's sort of like, the John Winthrop tweet about like America's not full. We can just like put people in, we could like turn people.
Oh yeah, turn them into ash and put them into
salt cubes and put them in silos. Like a lot of Americans, they still think of vast open spaces as America. And so they don't really think of the detriments of rapid urbanization. I remember being a kid in like having a civics class where the textbook talked about Mexico City as the like the precariat theory, where like when you have like very rapid urbanization like Mexico City had in the 80s, there's all sorts of terrible social consequences to that. And I think that when you have very vast urbanization of relatively small cities, maybe not New York, and New York has its own problems with migrants, right? Because New York has a very small landmass in terms of like huge megapolises. New York City, very urban density is insane, right? So most Americans don't really, like North Americans in general, their psyche is geared differently than the Europeans. So a lot of Americans in the heartland, they're like, oh, well, I guess we could still fit like 500,000 more people. It's like, it's nothing, right? Because America, we have national parks and just put them there, like build more houses. Same here in Ontario, build more houses. So I think like the psyche of Americans, it has to catch up to that reality that Europeans live with every single day. Is that a crazy take, Prude, or do you think that's...
I mean, this is the problem where you see people like it's like that famous what's that like shitlib like Kalinsky. It's like he's got like a K last name, Kyle K or whatever.
Kyle Kulinski. Klippenstein.
No. It's the famous tweet where the fucker's flying over like flyover country, and he's just like, "What are all these like rows for?" And it's like farmland, and he doesn't fucking get it.
Oh, it's Klippenstein. Yeah, that was Klippenstein.
Okay, Klippenstein. Okay, yeah. I thought it was like Kalinsky.
Oh, it was Kyle Kulinski. It was Kyle Kulinski. Thank you, Gloff. Yeah, secular talk.
Thank you. Secular talk. Anyways, this like libtard, right? He's just like, "Oh, what is all this for?" Or like people will be like. Or they'll be like, oh, look at, all this empty land. And especially because like they'll do this out in the West where it's like a lot of that part in the American West is like federally owned land with the Bureau of Land Management. This is where you get into a lot of ranchers. But it's just like, it's bizarre to think that they think that because these people themselves are spiritually deracinated. They have no connection to roots. They have no, history. If they have it, they just it's barely it's nothing in comparison to people who are proud of the fact that their family has been here since X, Y, and Z time. They can trace their lineage. They can do all this and blah, 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 blah. And they don't relate to that. They find that backwards. They find that foolish. There is that inner self-hatred of the heart, soul, and being in them. And it's really depressing to see because you value nothing. You value your little, you value your street taco. You value your Albanian man on a motorbike who will deliver you a pizza at 2 a.m. And like, that's really depressing because metaphysically speaking, you are an empty vessel that has lost the capacity to be ensouled for anything. And that is really sad because, and I look at them and it's just like, oh, you've been infected with like an immunodeficiency virus and you are dying of metaphysical AIDS. And it's so sad. And that's what you've done to yourself. And what makes you so upset and so angry is that it's just like, my mother's side of the family's been here since before the country was even founded. And it's just like, and I've said this before on the show, and I've written it elsewhere. It's just like when you walk through Pennsylvania and Independence Hall, and you see it in Philadelphia, you feel something. You feel hallowed ground when you're at Arlington. You stop and you look at these like historical markers, and you recognize that, like, as young as America is, there's a brilliant history of local poets, adventurists, restaurateurs, and everything under the sun. And it's just like you have sold your soul to say, fuck that. I want that new fusion cuisine restaurant. Really? Christ says, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? It's like, what shall it profit you if you gain your fusion cuisine restaurant but you lose your country? You have nothing. You won't be remembered. You'll thank yourself in this orgiastic release when you die, saying, thank God, I am gone, I am dead, and these like new Guatemalans will take over and it'll be fine.
Well, that's the boomers. They're like, I'm going to die soon, so who cares about my grandchildren? That's like a lot of.
But I mean, they're the inheritors of that.
Yeah.
The secular talks of the world are the inheritors of that. And they have no problem being the inheritors of that. And that's the great crisis and the great curse on this country right now.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I'll shut up. Can
Someone
we get to Paglia already? God
yes,
damn.
yes. But someone put that at 117. Put that in the comments, and also if we could clip it for the YouTube. I gotta start doing the YouTube shorts where I clip the stream. I have to now that I have more time.
Yeah, I know that King Pill does that, where they'll just like do a million shorts. I don't do it. Although the shorts I put out do relatively well. And shout out to the guy who did that Stalin's War short. He's like, you should like, sure, and it did well. So yeah, I should do more of that, but I never do.
We need a clip channel. We need.
Well, there's like a million people in the space that have like their own clips channel. It's just
yeah. And we won't be like Keith and Ralph, where we like false DMCA clip channels when we get mad at them. So if you want to start a clip channel of DA, I encourage that. I think that would be great. It would make my job easier because then I could just translate them into YouTube Shorts. But yeah, there you go. That's great. And I'm trying my best not to interrupt Prude anymore. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know your audience really gets pissed when I do that.
It's funny because like I don't give a shit because I know you, and then like anytime that we host the show on my channel, there's like 5 or 6 comments that are like, shut the fuck up. And it's just like, you guys must be new here. Like, come on. I always laugh at it. I'm just like, God sakes, guys.
I think they're from your geopolitics.
Like it's like for me, it's just like, if I had a problem with it, I don't think we would have lasted 77 episodes.
But I'm trying my best. I hope this episode I'm a little bit better.
You've been great.
Yeah. Growing beavers need their cow milk. What, like, Jay Bird, like, we gotta have Jay Burden once on the show. We gotta
beat Jay Burden with a stick. Beavers are out of control.
I can imagine his wife hitting him with a frying pan when he talks about beavers. He's just like,
Yeah.
you know, like those old cartoons, like the Disney yeah. His wife just hits him with a frying pan when he starts talking about beef. He's like, the beaver, the beaver, the beaver.
The beaver. And it's just like, come here, honey. It's, it'd be.
That reminds me of that one, when Leahy was drunk on Trailer. God rest John Denver's soul. God rest his soul. But when he's drunk and he starts talking about the shit abyss, and he goes, the shit abyss. And Randy goes, not another night of the shit abyss, Mr. Leahy. Not another night of Beaver Gang, Mr. Burden. It's like Mrs. Burden just, not another night of Beaver
another
Gang.
one.
Not another night about talking about beavers.
Not another night of beaver. No.
There's really a lot of beaver going on in the Jay Burden home. Oh my God. Anyways, we got to move on. So,
God, please get us to Camille. Just get it over with.
I'm sure Jay Burden's wife is a lovely woman. Anyways, Camille Paglia. I know people say Paglia, but Paglia. There was a Twitter account, Camille Paglia. Fat ass white girl. Where is it? Like, come on, man. Where is that? I hate when StreamYards does. I have to like actually open the okay, not now. No, okay.
No.
Present.
No.
Screen share. There it is. There it is. There we go. Glittering images. All right. Oh, that's Marcus's forward. I could read a little bit of it. But anyways, for my book. What did you want to... Let's go one of yours and we'll do mine. I wanted to cover Jack.
The one that I wanted to do was the Manet painting.
Okay.
At the cafe.
Oh, at the cafe. That's really good.
At the cafe.
So that was where he's like screwing with perspective. Where is it? Where is it? Root of Air. Resurrection by Queen Nefertiti. Island of Love, Titian. Venus in the Mirror is actually a really great painting. Piet Mondrian. Where is Manet? Oh my God.
F at the cafe.
Oh, here it is.
There you go.
No, that's Monet. Yeah, here it is at the cafe. There you go. Yeah. City in Motion by Edward Monet at the cafe.
At the cafe.
Oh, it's this one. I'm thinking of the bartender woman, but it's this one.
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah, that's a great. This is where he first came out with his very painterly, broken color, visible brushstrokes technique, which was, that was seen as like that was a total affront to what was the art school in Paris, the Paris College of Arts. That was a total affront, the having visible brushstrokes like that. But anyways, if you go ahead, Pruden.
Sure, yeah. And everyone's going to listen to me like butcher French. 19th century European art was a battleground of competing style. Jacques-Louis David's once thrilling neoclassicism became an oppressive orthodoxy, the official canon of good taste. Commercial art galleries open to the walk-in public did not exist yet, so it was hard for young artists to get their work seen. The mammoth Salon de Paris show, with its entrenched conservatism, was held only once every 2 years, then annually after 1863. By the mid-century, war was raging between the cultural establishment and the bohemian avant-garde, who tried to reach the public through privately funded exhibits of middling success. Edouard Manet, a radical artist challenging the status quo, actually came from the prosperous upper middle class. His career choice was strongly opposed by his dictatorial father, a civil magistrate and judge. Like his friends, the decadent poet Charles Baudelaire, Manet felt that art should address modern life. He refused to enter the prestigious just School of Beaux Arts. I'm not even going to try and fuck with that. And studied instead with a prominent salon painter, Thomas Couture, whom he had clashed. Quarreling with a nude male model striking classical poses in Couture's studio, Manet declared, "We are not in Rome, and we do not want to go there. We are in Paris. Let's stay here." Realism, the insurgent movement to which Manet belonged, was launched by the far leftist Gustave Courbet. whose somber, large-scale paintings of peasants reflected his working-class origins. In both art and literature, realism turned away from the romantic drama and exoticism towards the concrete contemporary world. Realists cultivated a scientific objectivity and impersonality, and artists' emotions or fantasies were irrelevant. Courbet said that a painting should represent only the visual and tangible. Art was a mirror held up to life. Realists were accused of wallowing in squalor. Manet, for example, was denounced as the apostle of the ugly and the repulsive.
Well, let's go, like, let's set the stage in that. This was the birth of social realism, which is very interesting how people lambast the Impressionists, to which Manet was a forefather, as like being like basically just pleasure and like bourgeois life and frivolity, when it really did radically depict what people were going through, albeit like, more upper middle class people. But, then later you had more solid social realism. But even the fact that he was rejecting Rome, he was rejecting sort of like the obsession with, the obsession with Renaissance art that a lot of like painters that came from Britain and from Paris and other other areas of France, they had their summer trips to Rome and to various other parts of Italy, to Florence, and that was expected of you, and that very classical style of painting was also expected of you. But Manet's throwing out, see, why can't we just like focus on real life, and why can't we focus on the conditions?
Why can't I paint the poor?
Yeah, exactly. Why can't we? That was revolutionary. Yeah. And of course, he had a lot of Marxism. But yeah, you go ahead, Prud, if you have any thoughts. Or
a lot of Marxism. Who would have guessed? I don't know. The painting to me is a very beautiful painting. I like the realism. There's my hot art take, I guess. There we go. Manet detested the smooth shapes and varnished surfaces of neoclassical paintings. He was drawn to the rougher brushstrokes of the 17th Spanish painter Diego Velázquez, whose work he saw in the Louvre. While it was, in fact, in front of a Velázquez that he met his friend and ally Edgar Degas, who was sketching it. Manet began experimenting with a freer, more visible brushstroke, loosely applied to leave the form incomplete, so that the painting coheres only when one steps back from it. Manet was used an unusually fine white canvas, which he coated with oil so that his brush gilded over it as in watercolor. Because he skipped the standard first step of applying primer, his colors have a raw, stark look and seem to cling to the surface, reducing the illusion of depth, which had been valued by European art painters since the Renaissance. Manet's accentuation of the surface, partly influenced by Japanese art and his self-referential play with paint, have led to his repute as the first truly modern artist, laying the groundwork for abstract art. Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, we'll finish this and then I'll go.
Yeah. Both Manet and Degas were intrigued by photography, which had steadily evolved after its invention in the late 1830s. The two painters often reproduced the random, casual, confused look of candid photographs, cutting figures off at the edge. Degas' close-up of jockeys astride, jostling their horses, look like snapshots with a handheld camera, which had not yet been invented. At first, photography seemed to threaten artists' livelihoods, especially in portraiture, but over time, photography liberated painting from the obligation to depict the physical world as it appears to the eye. While he admired photography's speed and frankness, Manet rejected its literalism. There is a systematic distortion in his major paintings: shallow, space, ambiguous composition, uneven execution. Even Courbet complained about the reclining vamp of Manet's Olympia. It is flat, there is no modeling. You would imagine she was the queen of spades and a pack of cards coming out of her bath.
My book covers this one because a lot of woke artists have reversed the races of Olympia and her maid. The black woman. Yeah, that's like a huge neoliberal kitsch thing where they just take. I've seen flat designs of a black Olympia. Humans have flat design versions of it where it's like this huge blobby mass reclining, and it's like the races are swapped. It's like the white maid with the black woman. Anyways, yeah, go ahead. Wait, let me see. How long is this? Oh, it's not that long, but where is it? I just wanted to mention about like Velázquez. It's very funny how he started that very painterly, broken color and visible brushstroke method, because Degas, Mamet, and also another artist deeply influenced by Velázquez, who obsessively painted the Pope Innocence, over and over and over again, was of course Francis Bacon, who took that visible brushstroke style to its like utter degree. And him and of course Lucian Freud and so forth. So this is like the birth of modern painting. But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the photograph thing is also interesting, how they had to cope with the invention of photography. Now that painting no longer has a sort of cartographic, like a news function, the way it did before in the imperial courts. But
I mean, really, the only places where like portraiture style, or even just like this, I mean, even like court sketches are kind of like these realist Manet style paintings. Because I mean, you look at a court sketch and then you look at Manet's painting here at the cafe, right? Like you have a very similar style where it's like rough and there are brush strokes, and it's I'm sure it's different because in a court stenographer and sketch artist, right, you have to work with a limited amount of time to capture your
that's what I mean. It's by
necessity.
It's like
by necessity, it's realistic. It's like Manet, which is something I guess I appreciate. I like court style sketching.
Oh yeah,
but
by necessity, it has to be rough, and it has to be like, it's like, it's like landscape. It's like plein air painting where the light's changing, so you have to like be very quick and visible brushstrokes, and
Yeah, absolutely. Manet's Luncheon on the Grass ignited the first big scandal of modern art. Rejected by the Salon of 1863, it became the prime exhibit at the Salon of the Refused Ones, mounted in protest against the Salon jury. Public sensibilities were offended by this picture of the two raffish bohemians lounging with a nude female companion who meets our eyes with bold amusement. Nudity in art was acceptable if safely distanced in antiquity, but the contemporary dress and impudent tone of Manet's painting seemed crassly provocative. People openly laughed, as they did again with Olympia, who was shown 2 years later. The latter drew such hostile, unruly crowds that guards had to be posted, and it was finally moved to Salon's furthest gallery and rehung near the ceiling. Based, like many of Manet's works, on prior paintings, and this, the case, the Titans of, Venus of Urbino, Olympia shows a sophisticated courtesan languidly relaxing in the nude as her Caribbean maid presents a large bouquet, the gift of her past client or the new one.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Yeah, her new one, Us, on whom she fixes her cool, complacent gaze. Her trim, sallow flesh, bathed in bleak light, lacks the pearly glow of neoclassical nymphs. There is an uncomfortable compression of space, permitting us neither to breathe nor escape, to escape.
Yeah,
that one will stare right at your face.
She stares at you, she stares through you, but also like it does feel like a cramped bordello, where it's like there's very little room to like visually take in, right? There's no open spaces. But which is interesting, I was actually talking about that one painting with my GF about the bathers. How I think because I was reading Griselda Pollock at the time, her book in Art and Feminism, where it sort of is kind of like, it is fetishistic from a woman's perspective, because okay, the perspective thing, like that was, because the woman in the background is very large if it was real perspective, but also like it's fetishistic because it's like, what's that acronym for that one prawn fetish where it's like the man is clothed, the woman's unclothed? It's like a very like high class thing. It was like in the, it's like where the woman is unclothed, the woman's nude, but the man is remained clothed. It's
like clothed male, naked female, like
that one.
NF or whatever.
That one. Yeah, it's very voyeuristic. It's very like, you know what I mean? Because they're unclothed, but men are like fully dressed in that painting. So it's very like, it is, I could understand from a feminist artwork perspective why it could be very like vulgar and, unbecoming, because the woman becomes like an object of desire, of sexual, so never heard of that one before. Thank you. Listen, I know, but I'm just saying, like, in all fairness, from a feminist art criticism perspective, it is from an art ho perspective.
From an art ho perspective, that's great. That that could be used as a prompt, from an art ho perspective. And it's just like, oh yes, tell us more from your art ho perspective.
There's so many
band's warped tour addled mind perspective. Tell me more. Meet me at the horizon, baby. Let's go.
Left-coded video essayist. like Olivia Sun Vi could probably do an video essay on that one.
Never knows
good. She's got good content, You know Olivia Sun Vi?
No, I don't watch leftist video essayists.
She actually has some good video essays. You have one about love, which was all right. There you go, the Marbly. There you go, the art ho gaze.
Art ho gaze.
Yeah.
Can we call that? Can that turn into a new genre of music? You got shoegaze, and now you got art ho gaze.
There you go. Well, a lot of art hoes do listen to shoegaze.
That's true. They do. Yeah. That is true. I love listening to art ho gaze music. This is just house music. It's just like, yeah, well,
Dignify AI. There you go.
Dignify AI. Oh, that'd be. I love this new band. Dignify AI. Oh my God! Yeah, that was Salon or Rolling Stone that had the article about Dignify
Rolling Stone
AI, and they called it chuds.
Woo! It was some high class escort.
We're chuds. Did you hear that? We're chuds.
Her name is like something David, but like she used to be like an Olympic something or other, but she became a high class escort. I gotta say though, that body 10 out of 10 though, 10 out of 10. But. You saw that one, right, Prue, where she's like, the 4chan chuds dignify AI'd me. And it's like, okay, that's the best one was the race swap one. Did you see that one, Prude?
Yeah.
Where it's
the one where it was like, this is what your daughter would look like. Or no, because they changed the race of the daughter, and then I think he photoshopped a man in there.
Oh,
where he's like, this would be like if you had a father and had like good relationships with your dad or whatever.
One was a nude model, like fully dressed, but she had a baby in her hand as well.
Yeah,
it's like stratifying the
modest AI. They're weapons. They're weapons. They're powerful psychic weapons.
Instead of the troll gaze, it's the coal gaze.
The coal gaze. Ooh, that's pretty good. The coal gaze. Like when you've been scrolling on your timeline, it's just like, you'd be posting coal. Got that coal gaze. I'm tired. Where's my little dark age edit?
It'll be like all the Dignify AI women, OnlyFans girls.
Policemen swear. Yeah, and it's just all the like hoes with like clothes AI'd onto them.
Yeah, and it'd be the little dark age edit. Yeah.
Guys, we're giving you great content here. Like, there's some bangers that you yourself could tweet out and make. I need a Dignify AI little dark age edit.
Yeah, someone take that woman from the high class escort from the Rolling Stones article and like make a spinning wheel edit out of her. Like that'd be like. Oh my God, that's terrible. But no, I'm serious though. She does have a, yeah, it's just it's tragic. It's what are you gonna do?
It's so funny.
I'm trying to be a woman respecter here, but it's just it's hard.
Are we now?
Well, I am. But
all it would take, right, is just to go out of your way, just swiping through clothes everywhere. I think it was Meta Prime or someone else who was just like, can't take clothes off of them, they get mad. Put clothes on them, they get mad. What do these bitches want? It's just
I think it was Meta Prime. Yeah. You take them off, they hate it. Put them on, they hate it. It's really about male desire. That's really what the whole.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that'll be the argument. I'm sure we'll get some leftist feminist video essayists telling us that like Dignify AI and the weaponization of the male gaze.
Has Lindsay Ellis talked about it yet? Maybe.
Is she still a thing?
I don't think she makes content anymore. I think she's just banking on the interest of her millions. So
sounds like a win to me, boys.
She has an alcohol problem. That's unfortunate.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I love how Billy's obsessed with her, though. Billy Pratt. He's like, there's a few women Billy loves as a Gen Xer.
Like young
Britney Spears, Lindsay Ellis.
Younger Lindsay Ellis wasn't Hold on. Let me clarify that statement before I commit to that.
What does Lindsay Ellis look like now? She's probably
she's a little overweight now, isn't she? Like she's pretty like.
I like current Lindsay Ellis without the alcoholism of the leftist. I mean, she was always a leftist, but
she didn't look so bad. Bad.
Lindsay Ellis, 2023.
Back when she was the nostalgia chick, though, she was like kind of quirky.
She looks all right
in a Caroline Ellison way. She looks kind of quirky.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, that's why she had millions of fans, because like Doug Walker knew what he was doing.
Because she was basically the what's the word?
Nerdy girl next door.
She was she was the manic pixie dream girl for like millennial YouTube nerds that were like born in 1985. Like, you know,
yeah, exactly. She looks all right. I mean, she's not, you know, kind of plain Jane, but she's nice.
Kind of plain Jane, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, her politics and her personality.
Oh, they're all atrocious. Her politics are atrocious.
Hideous, you know.
Hideous.
She could lose some weight. You know?
She could lose some weight, you know.
I don't know. Maybe just a little bit.
But isn't that the case though? With like, isn't the long arc of like early YouTube, like millennial stars, you either like coal out into irrelevancy or you just turn into like bleeding heart libtards?
Yeah.
Has there been one that got their start in like early YouTube that turned out to be like a raging right winger? I don't think so.
Wendigoon.
I said early YouTuber, like 2008.
Oh,
well. In JonTron's videos that interest me playlist, there is a conversation between Oren McIntyre and Morgoth's review on that playlist. I wonder if he still has that on there. I'm actually gonna like.
I think he had a nuke it. I think he had a nuke.
No.
It's probably still on there.
We're gonna go find out real quick.
Wait. Tobuscus is right wing.
Oh, is he?
I used to watch his happy. What was it called? Happy Friends, or you know the I used to play that. That was a funny game, where it's like you put these people through torture. Yeah, it's like an obstacle course. What was that called?
Happy Wheels.
Happy Wheels. Yeah, Happy Wheels. I used to watch those videos. He was pretty entertaining.
He did get rid of it. Damn.
Yeah, he got rid
but it was on there for a while on what to watch, and people were like, "Well, I found you because of JonTron," and it's just like, well, that's kind of a weird reveal, you know. Yeah.
But anyways, back to Paglia.
Back to Paglia before we never escape the wheel of artistic samsara.
In real life.
In real life, yeah, right. In real life, Manet was a consummate flaneur, an elegant, witty man of the boulevards who loved to wander his native Paris on foot.
I wonder what he was doing in certain neighborhoods. I mean, he had to pay those models somehow.
That's
how Picasso got
the English are not the only ones known for buggery. Not to imply.
Oh, was Manet gay?
I have no idea. I'm being...
No, I meant the women. Like, he had a lot of prostitutes.
I'm just being
shooting
the shit, Gio. Why not make fun of him? But anyways. The city was being transformed by Baron Haussmann, who leveled narrow, twisting medieval streets and plague-ridden tenements and imposed grand avenues and plazas. Haussmann's reforms, which not incidentally facilitated military control of popular insurrections, also spurred pedestrian traffic and nightlife to the newly gaslit streets. Cafes set up tables, widened sidewalks, people turning people watching into a sport. The entertainment industry was exploding, serving the leisured middle class as well as hordes of tourists. The new institution was the Café Concert, which served food and alcohol and a variety of show of racy songs and jokes, during which patrons openly chatted and circulated. Manet's At the Café, it captures the lively mix of social classes and characters in this noisy environment where young artists met to debate ideas. We are positioned almost as if we, like the waitress quaffing beer, were at work behind a marble bar with glassware and a tap handle partly visible on the right. Manet will reverse this perspective for one of his greatest paintings, a bar, the Folies Bergère, with its posh gold-capped champagne bottles. The bar's gently sloping edge, not precisely parallel to the picture bottom or the brass hat rack, draws us subliminally into the swirl. Reflected in the large framed mirror, the brass chandelier, as well as the performance going on behind us, a pert. That's a word you don't hear people
Yeah,
use
I know.
anymore.
Eh?
That's a word that a lot
That's
of
a word.
people. It's also a shampoo brand.
Oh yeah.
A pert young woman with canine bangs and a smart neckband singing on stage. Slumped at the bar is another young man who looks tired, bored, lonely, and a little depressed. He's a sensitive young man. She has thick, unplucked brows and is wearing a plain brown dress that might be a shop girl's uniform. But she certainly does not belong to the exclusive core of shop girls clad in black silk who worked at the best Parisian department stores and whose private lives were heavily supervised. That she is smoking in public suggests that she is not quite respectable. Perhaps she is moonlighting as a prostitute. Perhaps Manet is painting one of his prosties.
Oh,
The yellow
probably.
flowers in her hat should convey springtime promise, but they are artificial, and she seems at a dead end, the wall. Foam has settled on her beer, which, judging by her inertia, might just be her second or third. Her curling cigarette smoke seems truncated, like her thoughts and dreams. If the pyramidal object before her, echoing the picture's triangular design, is a pastry wrapped in blue tissue paper, slightly disheveled as she is, then it expresses her limited life of hidden, postponed pleasures.
Interesting, because you have like this mixing of different classes now that the city has been transformed. The social strata schema has been disrupted by urbanization, but also like the nouveau riche is also here. This is the creation of the Parisian middle class as well, or the upper middle class. And you have a general, like, also people who are more exposed to other classes than ever before, and along with these new urban schemes. So like this thing about pastry wrapped in blue tissue paper, slightly disheveled as she expresses her limited life of hidden postponed pleasures. I mean, that's really like that's a great visual metaphor, because like she probably is getting off of work. She's like, this is the only time that she really has to like sort of relax, and she's right next to an aristocratic type, which is very interesting. The very interesting social realism. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree.
Yeah. The dapper, gray-haired gentleman draping a graceful hand over his golden tipped cane belonging to his distinctly high class. He wears an elegant silk plush stovepipe hat with a flared brim. By the way, a hat. The pelt probably came from Canada through the Côte d'Ivoire, the fur trade. The rest of his ensemble is a latest fashion in the 1870s, starting with his long, straight frock coat with a padded shoulder and widened peaked lapels. Man's coats before this had sloping shoulders, nipped wrists, and ballooning hips. His white wing collar is also new, is a silk cavet tied with a loose knot and a cream vest buttoned high. His long chin puffed and handlebar mustache with twirled tips are in the imperial style of facial hair associated with the recent disposed Napoleon III. How was he deposed, Napoleon III?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think it was some. Yeah.
Well, he was, if I recall correctly, ousted during? Oh goodness, how did he go?
Yeah.
Trying to remember off the top of my head. I know he died in his 60s. His health was declining particularly rapidly.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you. I mean, there was numerous other problems that he had.
Well, when did the post-Napoleonic Republic come in? What was it, after Napoleon III or
Well, oh god, I don't know enough off the top of my head to give you an answer.
Yeah. Well, anyways, maybe someone in the chat might know. Because the Republic, like the French Republic, has only been around for
not very long. We're on like what the
fifth, modern
French Republic, right?
Yeah. Is it fifth? Yeah.
Fifth or sixth? Yeah. So no, we're on the fifth. We're on the Fifth Republic.
Less than 100 years.
Yeah. Well, the official Fifth French Republic was established by Charles de Gaulle in 58.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, way less than 100 years. But yeah, fascinating history though. A faint red circle, like the hint of a monocle left by Manet on the man's cheek, intensifies his gaze and gives him a hound-like alertness. Is he still stalking the girlish singer?
Who doesn't?
Yeah, who does exactly? The hearty waitress is mistress of all she surveys. No proper middle-class lady would stand with hands briskly on her hip like a sailor, but this waitress seems physically and mentally robust, poised for any demand or disruption. She wears a black velvet bodice over a white muslin half apron with a reddish scarf tied around her crisp standing collar, freely circulating waitresses, as opposed to stationary, brocaded barmaids, were relatively recent, intriguing arrivals in Paris restaurants. The beer theme is also highly charged because wine was the favored beverage in Paris. Beer was considered a crudity of farmers or Northern European tourists. Beer drinking, as well as public drinking of any kind by women, had caused controversy in the press. At the Cafe has a you and their quality. But while it distills Manet's on-site observations, all his cafe pictures were executed in the studio with separately posing models. The results here is a fascinating composition with blocky strokes and subtle effects, such as the scattering, unifying patches of yellow and gold. The figure's sight line shoots out like rays in 5 different directions, suggesting their psychological disconnection in the temporarily shared space. The sitting girl's right hand, limply holding a cigarette, parallels her neighbor's right hand, confidently clutching his cane. Manet's signature flattened-like grotto scroll beneath her fingers may tenderly suggest his sympathy and solidarity with her. Photo cropping is limited in how Manet's daringly cut through the young woman's body and sliced even more out of the labor of the opposite edge. The latter's blunt-cut flyaway hair and loose clothing, a coarse blue workaday smock and soft mechanic's cap, contrast with the gentle taunt, upscale costume, and compact, structured as armor. Always a sharper dresser, Manet was a keen student of fabric, style, and tailoring. Fashion for him was not superficial ornamentation, but a sensitive barometer of cultural change, and that's the important point. Clothes in Manet's paintings are badges of identity, the public heraldry of a mercantile society in restless flux. And of course, with urbanization, you have the mercantile classes. So all of this jam-packed into like one composition. Where's his, oh, that's his cane right there. That's his cane. So, and she's looking rather like listless, like she just came off of work. And
yeah, she looks like just dead. You know?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, fucking done.
But unlike a lot of like paintings in the Renaissance, you don't have like a unified like they're like looking everywhere about. Like that's, you know, one woman's of one class, another man is another class. They're all sort of like paying attention to different things the way you have at a party or like
yeah,
at a bar.
I mean, like it's very in media res where everything is captured at once, right here in your face at the same. And I like as Paglia mentions, it's capturing the mirror. It is the realism of the time where for once now there was quasi upward mobility, but also where there wasn't a sharp social stratification in bars and restaurants where you could negotiate or talk to random people of different classes and things like that. Like, you know, I could even today right now walk into certain bars or restaurants that are definitely way outside my paycheck or whatever, and talk to people who I would never talk to at any point in time outside of this, you know, chance meeting or connotation.
Or at hotel lobbies, for instance.
Yeah, or hotel lobbies, yeah.
No, it's true. But also like this, this was revolutionary for the time. I mean, there's sort of like, like it, identity becomes different. It becomes coded within not just class, but also like fashion and so forth. Like this was sort of, a lot of new money was also coming into Paris at the time.
Yeah, dress gives away all those other things like class and whatnot. So absolutely.
Well, even his top hat. I mean, this is a product of the Cote d'Ivoire in Canada. Like this is like the first like salvos of globalization when you really think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and of course the French Empire was on the wane, you know, so yeah, we'll see. But a great painting. and really like a lot of works from Degas, Monet. I'm thinking of like Net de Moulin Rouge by Toulouse-Lautrec. Like this is very like this is urban impressionism. This is like this is a new social awareness. And I think nowadays, I mean, imagine the similar scene in any bar nowadays. Like, what would you maybe you'd find a similar attitude or similar relief of emotion, but the people will certainly be different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's honestly, because it's like the
Well, everyone dresses the same nowadays.
well, yeah, there's no real difference in how people dress themselves. I mean, I think of like the opening, like the intro video to like Cheers, right? Like all the clips of the bar throughout history.
Yeah.
And I mean, like it's kind of like a Manet painting, right? Like it's all there, but I mean, now everyone is sort of in a very homogenous form of dress. That would be the difference. But I mean, a scene like this is still something that you can find at most bars. It's just not as elaborately. We're not as stratified by fashion.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or even by fashion, or like everyone has an iPhone.
Yeah,
everyone wears sweaters.
absolutely.
Exactly. So it's unfortunate though, because I wish people, I mean, I don't know, I kind of dress like, because
I dress like this pretty often. So I mean, I dress like a community college professor, whether I like it or not, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's most of my wardrobe anyway, so this is how I prefer to dress anyways.
True. I have a sleaze core thing going on, so I want to do Shooting Star, but if you wanted to do the John Chrysanthemum one,
no, go for the Shooting Star. I'm fine with that.
All right, we'll go Shooting Star. Then we'll go.
Then we'll probably go to the Super Chats.
Well, then we have to do the David one about what was his name? The Revolutionary.
Okay,
Marat.
I got another show evening, Gio, and I don't want to be on the air like straight, but okay.
Well, okay, let's do Pollock then Marat. Then we'll be Super Chat time.
Pollock.
All right.
We spent way too long on the news.
I know, but we always do.
I know.
It
kills us.
Shooting Stars by Jackson Pollock, green, silver. I want to see the audience reaction here. I know you people are not fans of Pollock as I am, but I want to see Prude in a Southern Danny costume like Maverick.
No.
Oh my God. So enamel and aluminum. So yeah, he was using industrial products at the time.
I also don't just no. I'm not going to be dressed like James Garner.
Oh my God.
It's not happening.
You would look good maybe in that.
I mean, I have a seersucker suit if we want to do that. I mean, I could wear that one of these days.
You could dress like that 70s game show host, like Jebediah Goldstriker on Fish Tank. Like that with a cowboy theme type of game show host. You have a suit like that, There you go. Anyways, abstract expressionism has conquered modern design, where it has become a familiar decorative motif for everything from gift paper to kitchen linoleum. But surprisingly, many people outside of urban centers in the United States still regard abstract painting with suspicion, as if it were a hoax or a fraud. Given the lingering skepticism, it might be wise to admit that there is more bad than good abstract art, which has been all compromised over the decades or by a host of inept imitations. All the more reason to celebrate the masterworks in the difficult genre. Jackson Pollock was both beneficiary and victim of the American cult of celebrity. He was the first superstar of American art. Well, I mean, Urshel Gorky maybe, but yeah, he was the first superstar, which had always been overshadowed by Europe. After World War II, he became a symbol of the transfer of the world capital of art from Paris to New York. Following 2 centuries of French dominance, both on a sheep ranch in Wyoming, Pollock seeming to embody the brash independence of the American frontier. His rough dress and tough manner broke the stereotype for artists whom practical mainstream Americans had often spurred as milquetoast or snobs. While his family did have pioneer roots, his mother was born in an Iowa longhouse. The young Pollock was not a paragon of virality. Neighbors described him as a mama's boy and crybaby. Timid and clumsy, he avoided sports and played with girls. Oh my God. Guru Krishnamurti, I think is referring to Jiddu Krishnamurti, whose long hair and Byronic open collars he aped. He was ironically only after he moved to Manhattan and fell under the spell of his teacher, the macho muralist Thomas Hart Benton. For those who don't know, Thomas Hart Benton is sort of like the American realist, the what do they call it? The regionalist painters, to which Pollock was inspired by during the Great Depression. Pollock was sort of like interesting how he was also like a proto New Ager. He was, he attended lectures from Krishnamurti. He loved the American indigenous artists, so comes out in his work. Became the iconic cowboy painter who later exploded onto the world. His alcoholism was already chronic, leading to psychiatric hospitalization in the 1930s. This affliction plagued him throughout his life and caused repeated injuries and accidents, culminating in the 1956 car crash near his Long Island farmhouse that killed him and his female passenger. He really liked to live on the edge. Jackson Pollock.
Don't drink and drive, kids.
Yeah, he drank. Yeah, he was doing an accelerationism, as you saw. So, what do you think of that, though? I think it's very interesting influence by Pollock. It would culminate in sort of like the chaos of abstract expressionism that, America's exploring another frontier in a way. So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
sounds like a feminine Hemingway.
Yeah, it's like a feminine Hemingway. Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you want to theory sell it out a little bit, I guess you could make the argument that each canvas in form of artistic expression is a sort of psychic geography that is yet to be conquered, explored, or territorialized. So, I mean, abstract expressionism is a new frontier in which people could do so. In the same way that I spend my spare time reading bizarre shit like spinal catastrophism and wonder why these Marxists are talking about the spine as a fossil, but here we are.
You actually read the Spinal Catastrophism book?
I did. I bought it, and I had this YouTube video kind of help break down some points, and I just started reading it, and I'm like...
So human evolution, right?
I'm like, yeah, it's on evolution. It's like the spine as a fossil record, a geologic record, and there's
like a tree.
These Marxists have some fun stuff to talk about, despite the fact that their like economic and social realities are batshit insane. There's some interesting stuff in there. But yeah, I just thought it was cool. And I didn't know what the hell it was about. And then I went down a rabbit hole, and here I am reading the book. I'm like 40 pages in.
Maybe we should invite Douglas Lane on of $0.
Maybe,
he would probably come on. That'd be interesting.
Maybe. You want to talk to two chuds for like 3 hours?
Yeah, he's done that before. I think even did Distributist like talk to Douglas Lane or
I have no idea.
Yeah, someone else, I think. I mean,
someone else. He's talked to a lot of people though. He's talked to Vaush, Christy Winters, although that name isn't really relevant anymore.
Whatever happened to Christy Winters?
That's a great question.
Yeah, we should look it up. But we're not gonna have time to do maybe Marat.
I mean, Christy Winters was just a new atheist, really.
Yeah. But she
like
was
you
like
look her up, like the Dr. Christine Winters, 7.52K subscribers, 849 videos, progressive feminist, humanist, social scientist, nerd.
Wow.
I have more subs than Christy Winters. I feel like I've won, like.
Well, I think Sargon did relatively poorly in that debate because Christy Winters, like.
Yes, but Dave did much better in his debate with her.
He debated Christy Winters?
He did. He debated Christy Winters on the sexual revolution and its consequences.
Oh my God.
You got to be an old Dave head to understand. The Chud Report with Prudent Gio. That's basically kind of what we do.
It's kind of what we do.
That is kind of what we do. We are the Chud Report.
We
did review 5 Little Chuddies.
Oh my God. Originally, Pollock wanted to be a sculptor and dreamed of rivaling Michelangelo. As a student at New York's Art Students League, he began painting naturalistically, but was also frustrated and embarrassed by his difficulties with drawing. His large hands shook, and his right index finger was mutilated from a childhood accident with an axe. He experimented with, yeah. So you could see the shakiness could benefit him with the drip painting thing.
Yeah.
He experimented with Benton's social realism, then adopted the theatrical primitivism of Mexican muralist Jose Orzaco. Orzaco, I believe, also studied under Diego Rivera. But then the real revolution for him was Picasso. Pollock had no interest in Cubism until he saw Picasso's La Demoiselle d'Avonnier, which is the famous woman. And Guernica.
Everyone knows that one.
Franco bad. Franco. The Austrian painter. Anyways. Franco bad. Retrospect, but Guernica is a monumental work, though. Apart from the propaganda, commie propaganda, it is a monumental work. Of course.
Absolutely.
Retrospective of the Museum of Modern Art, he was galvanized by Picasso's big, bold forms, shallow cubist space, and ambivalent vision of mythical women, which was complemented by Pollock's engagement in therapy with Carl Jung's archetypal psychology. Yes, Pollock did go see a Jungian psychiatrist, psychologist. You want to take over, or?
Yeah, I certainly can.
My mouth is getting. Yeah, my jaw.
Out of his competitive zeal for Picasso came the first works to win Pollock attention, the ominous paintings of the shadowy totemic figures executed in a cryptic, semi-abstract style. Pollock's reputation for violence began early. He had always been a nasty binge drinker. Acquaintances said he had a Jekyll and a Hyde personality, but now his pictures veered towards the grotesque. An untitled 1938-1940 painting, later called Naked Man with a Knife, shows a muscle-bound assailant grappling with a contorted victim in what would be ritual sacrifice. The composition is choked and a writhing mass of blood-brown knots of flesh. This stunning emotional turbulence was the expressionism in Pollock's new style, a welling up of anguish from the artist's tortured inner life. The modern artist, Pollock insisted, works from within, expressing his feelings rather than illustrating. Naked Man with Knife. What a great name.
Yeah.
Even as his style became increasingly abstract, Pollock still began every painting with a figure to which he then concealed. I choose to veil the imagery, he stated. Traces of those figures receded and eventually disappeared. The transition can be seen in Mural, a gigantic painting nearly 20 feet long by 8 feet high that he did in 1943 for the entry of the New York townhouse of the heiress and art dealer Peggy Guggenheim. A procession of black stick figures can be detected marching amid undulating slashes, which unfriendly critics labeled the glorified wallpaper and macaroni. Mural, which Pollock claimed to have painted in a single night, was executed in his all-over style. The surface is treated uniformly, edge to edge. No part of the painting is more important than the other.
This is the flatness of modern art that Clement Greenberg talks about extensively, that this is the all-over style. And of course you have to see that this is a natural development from the Impressionists, because you have the one, I mean, Picasso famously hated the Impressionists except for Cezanne, because Cezanne develops this all-over style with his landscapes, where it's like you have like dashes of blues and siennas in every single aspect of the painting, that the realism and the depth of perspective gives way to this flatter surface that, and then of course, Paul Klee comes after Cezanne and like takes it even further. Marc Chagall, like it's really it's less about the perspective and more about the totality of the painting as a whole and the feeling of that painting. So, yeah, although he had already become the enfant terrible of New York's avant-garde world, Pollock and his outspoken wife, artist Lee Krasner, she's also a really great artist, by the way. Some people like her better than Pollock. Were enduring poverty and hardship because of their paintings did not sell. But Pollock's, have you seen I believe Pollock, I believe Mark Rothko has the record for the most, or he used to have the record, but I think Pollock's Lavender Mist gets up there in pricing, but anyways,
Hmm.
a lot of rich people with a lot of money to launder. But Pollock's productivity never flagged. During the summer of 1947, there was a major breakthrough. He invented the signature drip style, which would transform contemporary art, unrolling sheets of coarse sailcloth on the floor of his small barn studio. He used sticks and hardened brushes to toss and splatter painting on the canvas. Before this, he had squeezed standard oil paint directly from the tube across his pictures and spread them with a palette knife. Now he was using cheap commercial materials, house paint, industrial enamels, silver radiator paint, and he had no longer touched the canvas at all, except to step in on it. There had been precedences for the free treatments of the painting and experiments witnessed by Pollock as a student at the New York workshop of Mexican muralist David Alfredo Siqueiros. I actually love Siqueiros. Siqueiros is a great artist as well. Who called them controlled accidents. This is also why Pollock's paintings are notoriously hard to restore. It actually takes millions of dollars to keep them restored because of the materials he was using, and also because he was using unprimed canvases, which is like, all the oil and enamel paints just like ate the hell out of the canvas. So very, very hard to restore. The Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, has to spend millions of dollars to preserve these Pollock paintings. So we're almost done here. By dramatically expanding the size of his canvases and working on the floor, Pollock freed painting from the easel, which have been basic to portable painting since the Renaissance. Walking around the canvas and improvising from all four sides, Pollock said he could literally be in the painting, an experience he compared to the method of the Indian sand painter of the West. His friend, the sculptor Tony Smith, spoke of Pollock's feeling for the land and said the floor was the earth over which he was distributing flowers. Pollock told another artist friend, "I am nature." He called his painting the arena. Like a bull ring, it had become an environment where there was neither up nor down. He never made final decisions about the direction or positioning of his paintings until he had studied them for weeks, tacking his canvases to the wall, and they would be publicly exhibited with a very late step in his process. He disliked signing his paintings or giving them titles, which eventually became mere numbers. Do you want to continue, Prude? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here at the top.
Yeah.
A sensational 1949 profile in Life magazine made Pollock famous overnight. The mocking headline asked, is he the greatest living painter in the United States? Clad in dungarees and dangling a cigarette from his lips, he was photographed with arms pugnaciously folded as he leaned against the squiggly painting that looked preposterously chaotic to most readers.
I love that photo, by the way.
It's a great photo. Yeah. The article helped create the stereotype of the abstract painter as the grubby weirdo that would become a scarce staple of 1950s American movies and television. A polemical essay in an art journal about the New York abstractionist coined the term action painting, which simply meant that the act of painting, not the finished product, was the new goal of art making. Pollock, for instance, never made preliminary sketches but drew and paint directly on the canvas. Nevertheless, he was dogged by a caricature of the action painter hurling paint around the room in a mad frenzy. A full-page photograph in Harper's Bazaar of a brooding Pollock in a denim jacket and blue jeans, squatting on a running board of his battered jalopy, fused his image with that of Marlon Brando, who had introduced a brutal naturalism to the stage and screen acting. The Brando parallel was the overt in the 1956 Time magazine article titled The Wild Ones, riffing on a Brando motorcycle film, where Pollock was dubbed Jack the Dripper, as he were a homicidal maniac. His hipster stance was also aligned with the rebel beat poetry, existentialism, and the birth of the cool in jazz, to which he played nonstop at his home.
This is almost like E-Right meme makers that do the Chud memes.
Yeah.
It's like, we are the new Afont Terribells, Prude. We're the new abstract expressionism. We're the new punk rock. Pollock would be incredibly reactionary if he was alive nowadays. People don't believe this, but he was a Jungian, and he loved the rough, kind of like Hemingway. Like, he loved the rough image of the working class. You know, it's like, Hemingway was a commie, but like, got his ear shot off in the Spanish Civil War. No, wait, that was George Orwell that got his neck shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Orwell wasn't fighting for the right side.
But Hemingway loved to drop F-bombs too, F-slurs. He called Orson Welles an F-slur. Anyways,
well,
he really was like the post-left masculine commie. Yeah, Hemingway was the Hawes of his day.
He was the dirtbag left of his day.
Yeah, he was. No, he was.
Except he did work for communists.
At least he put his money where his mouth is. He actually went to Spain and fought,
And he, lived in Cuba for a while.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine Matt Kreisman trying to? Well, no, I shouldn't imagine, because like there was that the Belden guy that did actually fight with the Kurds. So
yeah,
he coordinated bomb runs with the CIA. Did you know that?
There you go.
TrueAnon podcast, yeah, CIA operative. But
the media spotlight put huge pressure on Pollock, who now faced impossible expectations. Despite his celebrity, sales of his paintings briefly spiked but remained sluggish, and Peggy Guggenheim had trouble even giving them away. Yale University refused her offer of mural, which was finally accepted by the University of Iowa Museum of Art, where it still resides.
What a steal, eh? What a blunder.
There you go. There was tension with other New York painters who presented the media view of Pollock as their leader. His relationships with fellow artists were always prickly and sometimes hostile. He tried to destroy a Larry River sculpture by running over it with his car in an East Hampton driveway. During a 3-year period of his classic drip paintings, Pollock stayed sober. However, in 1950, being filmed working outside on plate glass, he started in, and the day ended in a fiasco and farce. He overturned the dining room table, spilling 12 roast beef dinners to the floor.
Whoa!
12. Restlessly changing his style, Pollock began using turkey basting syringes to pour black paint on raw white canvas, the soak stain technique perfected by Helen Frankenthaler.
Well, Helen Frankenthaler,
the soak stain technique. I see the Mormon Church is active as always.
She was a looker for her day. Same with Joan Mitchell, and Lee Krasner was a pretty good looking woman.
I now have to look up her, Helen.
No, but Frankenthaler was dramatically different than Pollock in that. See, I can make a sexist comment, but can also admire their artwork.
Oh wow, she was a bit of a looker, yeah.
Yeah. Lee Krasner too.
Yeah.
Who unfortunately Pollock.
She did look good young.
Well, Pollock unfortunately physically abused Lee Krasner. But no, but it's funny because Frankenthaler, I wrote about her in when I used to do Modern Art Madness. I should actually return now that I have time to Modern Art Madness. I did.
Why do you have time? Are you done with your book?
I have to edit.
You done with your book?
Editing stage.
You done with your book? You done with your book?
I'm done writing the book.
Oh, there you go. So there you go.
But I have to edit. That's even worse. So then I have to send it off to someone to get it edited too, because I'm terrible. But no, Frankenthaler, she did very like large open color fields, which are quite spacious. You can look at Frankenthaler's work while listening to My Bloody Valentine. Listen to Loveless while looking at Frankenthaler. Sorry, excuse me. It's the nicotine. I love Frankenthaler's work. I think she was a great artist. I've written about her. Yeah, well, I took a Nicorette and I smoked an American Spirit, so I'm pretty zened up, as Justin Murphy said today on Twitter. Those super chats.
I quoted that earlier today. I couldn't help but laugh about the.
I haven't seen that. I gotta retweet it.
Welcome to the future. Zinned up 20 milligram Addy CBD drink takes the edge off. I'm tweeting this with my eyeballs right now. And my son is asking what time we're having dinner. Son, the time is the human affliction, not the human invention, but a prison. And I know that he's like making fun of it, but I just quote tweeted it saying this is just Canadian healthcare with extra steps.
Oh my god.
Because it's like the Owen Cyclops thing, where about like just letting people enjoy things, where it's like the VR porn, the heroin wine, the auto like masturbator or whatever. It's just like something's not right about this. Oh my god, let people enjoy things. And it's like, no.
You know what we
no.
can do, Prude? You know what
What can we do, Gio? What can
we can have, because I have his book as well. He sent it to me about being a father. Let's
the babyology one?
let's interview him after we read a bit of babyology. We could interview him for DA.
Yeah, we should.
Because I know
it's great stuff, by the way. It's really good. Go buy book. Buy book.
I forget, was Owen Cyclops and Content Minded?
Have you interviewed him? I feel like
I interviewed him on BTR, but not.
I feel like I would have watched that episode of Content Minded.
Yeah, but because like the BTR one was unfortunately derailed by a debate between him and Nina Paley on censorship. On it was on anonymity, and it was sort of like the boomer tier, like you don't put your real name to face. It's like Owen Cyclops is like, listen, if I were to tell people what I do and my family, my uncle would never see my baby ever again. And so anonymity is the price I'm paying. And I admire that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should do that. We should talk about being a father. And when is Father's Day, Prude? When is Father's Day? Wait, what month?
Do Canadians have a different Father's Day than America?
No, I think we have the same as America.
It's in June.
Okay, we can review him.
It's June 16th.
Okay.
Because they've made Juneteenth a federal holiday. People just Father's Day now.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We but we should, even before that, we should interview him.
We should. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. We can talk
about being a father and
yeah.
But he had a great tweet. The reason I bring him up is because he had that meme that you just said about like the guy drifting off in VR. He said, when you find a meme that you make that has the iFunny watermark, it's like it's given to the world. It was a really great take. I love that one.
Yeah, no, it was great because like he also had the little comic about like, hey, I heard on the internet, and it was like, is this a reputable source? And it had all the like weird schizo personalities because I had redone the meme and I had done it for the guys in the Chome GC. And I was just like, yeah, absolutely. And he'll retweet it every time he sees it in the wild because he makes these great memes. They're fantastic.
Yeah. No, but it's funny because I didn't see that because usually like you, Matthew, who else? There's a few accounts where I just like go through all their tweets and like them because I think you, Matthew, depends on the mood. Spurgler, Nightmare Vision, Popet. I just keep going.
Depends on the mood, Spurgler.
Yeah, some people I just like go and like all their tweets. Like I used to do this with Content Enjoyer, but I still do a Content Enjoyer because his new handle I can't say on YouTube. It's RP the Woke.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's a great handle, by the way. It is an amazing handle.
It's a good handle. Not gonna lie.
But yeah, so Pollock, I remember that instant when they were filming him. He like overturned the table. He was like, "That's enough," and he couldn't handle it anymore. So how much will we have? I think next week we could do another one where we talk about the Marat painting and also the Andy Warhol one. I think.
Yeah.
Films of Pollock at work in his barn show neither violence nor frenzy in his creative process. He methodically flicked and flung his acing painting with calm composure. Lee Krasner marveled at her husband's mysterious virtue. So that's another famous photo of Jackson Pollock where Lee Krasner has a high chair looking down at her husband dancing around the canvas. One day my GF will... I always have a picture of that. My GF
One day my girlfriend will take that photo. That's what I'm hearing out of this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. She called it quite uncanny. Even the Indian sand painters were working in the sand, not in the air. Pollock's strips and blobbing moments were dance-like, activating his arm, shoulder, and torso rather than the painter's usual wrist and fingers. Always his weakest point as a student. A lot of plein air painters do this as well to like roughen the painting. I do it sometimes, which he said he explicitly invoked like a tribal shaman, brought him a contemplative serenity that can be felt by the viewer of his best pictures. He traces his trance state drawing on the unconscious depths, resembled surrealist automatism, a literary practice that he never before succeeded with painting. It was as if the anxious or obnoxious Pollock were taking dictation from a higher, more enlightened self. Visitors to a 1950 Pollock show said that it was like walking into a meteor shower. In front of a large Pollock drip painting, we don't know where to look. There is no story or focal point. The pictures seem alive, like magical vibrating entities, a link perhaps to the imposing totems of Pollock's Picasso period. It's as if we are peering into a physical reality as its elemental level, where matter turns into humming energy. Abstraction may have liberated Pollock from the burden of personality. His drip paintings have paranoiac reach. They are a heavier primal landscape into which humans have not been born, and yet they project the infinite vistas of warp speed, time travel, new frontier of space. That right there, that is
really great prose.
Great prose. I mean, I said something similar, not as poetic, when I did a Modern Madness on one of Pollock's paintings, but like that's America at the time.
Yeah,
post-war America. He anticipated the space age of America. That's everything right there. That is what America. So you trads, you vulgar trads that hate Pollock, Pollock tapped into the primal spirit of America more than a lot of other artists, in my opinion. That is unfortunately being erased. So
there you go.
There you go. What do you think about that, Prude?
I mean, America certainly, as much as it, well, on one hand, because for instance, what does Pollock do? He buries the figures behind all these layers of abstraction.
Yeah.
And so I see an America today that has buried itself in these layers of abstraction, whether a propositional nation or blah, 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 for whatever progressive or political platitudes that you want. But buried underneath all of that is bare bones figures and realities of who we are and what we do, and we can never escape those. You can bury them as much as you want. You can layer them through a million layers of abstraction, but deep down underneath, I can scrape away the paint, and all of a sudden, I know deep down there is a figure there, and I know what that figure was. And to some extent, that does represent the United States as a whole right now. And here it is. But hey, people listening, give Gio money, and let's get the super chats.
Yeah. No, but also lastly, Pollock united Europe and America. He transcended Europe in a different direction. He rediscovered the Impressionists like the abstract expressionists did when the European avant-garde forgot about them to do this like fancy hoi polloi conceptualism. But Pollock, he united something very ancient in America. The indigenous artists that, the indigenous artists, the New Age movement that he anticipated, because he died in the 50s, the 60s came about. He was a Jungian. Like The Deep was one of his last significant paintings, where you have just like a blue unconscious and this, whiteout in the surface. It's like that's like the, it's cracking the sky. And so the world dome, as John David Ebert would say, is erased from Pollock. It's something new, it's something flat, but something also deep at the same time. The layers are intertwining the chaos. Because, America is a desert where all forms come together. All world cultures come together. All things melt into the desert, as Baudrillard said, right? So, yeah, that's why I'll always be a Pollock respecter. I mean, I started off abstraction when I started painting many years ago. I wanted to be, I was like mimicking Jackson Pollock, then I moved on to landscape painting and then conceptual painting. So, so please, last chance of super chats.
Send them away.
Next week we'll probably cover some more of the Paglia book. It's so fascinating. They're like cookies, you keep reading them one after another.
Just keep snacking.
I think the Marat painting by David probably will cover a topic about Russia next week. I'm anticipating this. We'll see with the Tuckler interview.
The Tuckler.
Should tap him into the American spirit.
Get tucked.
Get tucked.
Tap into the American spirit proceeds to cough, hack up a lung.
Yeah.
Did you see the special counsel report on Biden and the classified documents? I know this is news, but holy shit. Did you see
I
Fisher
didn't see
King?
this.
Okay, so the special counsel report on Biden's classified documents says they can't convict him before adjourning because he will present as a likable old man with poor memory. This is the government's appraisal of a sitting president. In his interview with our office, Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. If it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? Forgetting the second day of the interview when his term began. In 2009, am I still vice president? He did not remember, even within several years, when his son Beau died, and his memory appeared hazy when describing the Afghanistan debate that was once so important to him. Among other things, he mistakenly said he had a real difference of opinion with General Carl Eikenberry, when in fact, Eikenberry was an ally whom Mr. Biden cited approvingly in his Thanksgiving memo to President Obama.
Yeah.
Oh, no!
That's...
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, we have considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did with our interview with him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Based on our direct interactions and observations with him, he is someone whom, with many jurors, will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him. By then, a former president well into his 80s of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness.
I can hear the caretakers.
Yeah, right.
An empty bliss beyond Joe Biden, like.
You need. I'm stealing that from you right now. I'm tweeting that.
I actually stole that from DA because he had when he had his podcast. So I really loved it. I don't know why he deleted it. It was like
that was
experimental. Yeah, it was experimental. Had different bits in it.
Oh, what are the tracks of
an empty bliss beyond this world?
Everywhere at the end of yeah. I know, because I want to find if there's a better title I can use.
An empty bliss beyond Joe Biden was one of his episode names.
That's honest to God, so damn good. I'm upset that I never thought of something that good.
But that's incredible. Remember all the libtards that were like, how dare you insult Joe Biden's mental health? What about Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan. Well, okay, Ronald Reagan was kind of senile near the end there in the 80s, but
yeah.
An empty bliss beyond Bongo.
Oh.
Warp speed to dementia. Oopsies.
Yeah, I mean, an empty bliss beyond Joe Biden. That's basically it.
We should title that. You should title that for something.
An empty bliss. I'm just tweeting that beyond Joe Biden. I mean, that's too good. Holy shit.
It's too good. Yeah. Oh my God. But please sneed those super chats.
Oh my God.
I also have the entropy link, which is did this just come out now, Prude?
Yeah, this report came out today.
Holy crap.
There's no words to describe how fucked this all is.
How is this guy gonna make it to the end of the year?
We already know the answer to that.
Adrenochrome.
They've been drugging. He's not in charge. Biden is just an avatar. They said this in the 2020 election. I think it was a New Yorker essay where they were like, Joe, you don't need to die. Just don't die. Your corporeal husk is all we need to drag across the finish line to defeat Donald Trump. It does not matter how bad your memory is, how popular you are. You just need to live, as the old Negro spiritual tells us, and carry on towards the promised land. And lo and behold, Joe Biden did that for you.
Yeah, Weekend at Biden's.
And other Negro spirituals, but yeah, it happened.
Weekend at Biden's. That's what it is, man. Weekend at
Bernie's. Weekend at Joe's.
Yeah, it's just it really is indicative. I know all of those compact writers, they use the term sclerotic empire, but it is an apt description. But I have entropy now, so if you want to see it or hear on YouTube or my PayPal, I wonder if you have a PayPal. I haven't had a PayPal one in a while. But anyways, thank you guys. We have a lot of interesting questions. So next week we'll probably do the Marat painting by David, and we'll probably do, I don't know, maybe the Andy Warhol one. But we'll probably talk about Russia the most. Anyways, where is the entropy ones? Is it in the left or the right bar? It's on the right. It's on the.
You're gonna know it's entropy when it doesn't have a little YouTube symbol next to it.
Oh, okay, that makes things.
Also, because the entropy thing will still report YouTube ones as if they're sending in like cents on the dollar when they sent like $5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we have a few entropy ones, about 4 or 5.
Okay.
Nice. So Belial Bradley for $10. Better late than never. Thank you, Belial.
Everyone in chat's like, finally.
It's a money opportunity. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I might interview him as well one day when I finish. But go and buy the Jackalopians by our good friend Jackalopians of Modern Tale by Mark Marlowe. I'm almost halfway. I'm a quarter through it. And do I receive PayPal? Yes, I do receive PayPal. Thank you, Confused and Delay. I do receive. It's in the links in the description. So entropy, and for another one by Belial Bradley for $25. Gio, have you ever come across Matt Ehret's Canadian History Revisionism? I'm Googling him. It looks pretty interesting, but please let me know if he's problematic. I'll probably talk about him because I was doing a deep dive. Well, I've been doing a deep dive in another very problematic thinker from England who renounced in his recent WordPresses. He renounced his former extremism, but he had a very interesting dissident arc. I'm not going to mention his name; is too much.
Understood.
But thank you, Belial Bradley. I'm so grateful. Listen, guys. It's been hard writing the book. I want to get back to art posting. I want to put artwork on my website so I could sell directly to you people. But you guys, you really support me, and this is how I make a living. And I have a lot of plans for the future with the book and with my artwork, and I really appreciate everything. It's hard out there. It's going to get harder, and I'm very appreciative that you guys have supported me and have supported Prude along the way. And we're very appreciative of this. So maybe it's just nicotine talking, but, thank you.
Grateful indeed.
Grateful indeed. I will look up Matt Ehret's work. His work seems very interesting. And for $3 by Seneca. Hey, gents, just popping by to say hi. Hope your days have been wonderful and blessed. So thank you very much.
It's been a good day.
It's been a good day. It's been a good day for content. Before this, I recorded with.
We at least have our wits about us, unlike Joe Biden.
Oh my God! And Sam153 for $10. Entropy Sneed finally, Entropy Sneed. So there you go.
The people they were waiting. They were waiting.
Were waiting. And Charlie Mackey for $20. What's your favorite piece of Russian art? Is there anything you consider Russia's greatest contribution to European culture history? You go ahead, Prudel. I have a.
Well, I mean, besides its literature, it's musical composers. I mean,
yeah.
Tchaikovsky has had one of the greatest influences on the West still to this day, and even in America, there was a huge Russian craze in the early 20th century, both prior to and after the war and the revolution. So I would say it's music and literature. I don't know too many Russian painters.
I love a lot of Russian landscape painters, but my favorite Russian symbolist would obviously be Ilan Repin. Repin, I remember seeing his paintings when I was a kid, and I didn't know who it was though. But many years later, I discovered Ilan Repin, and his painting of the sort of the water nymphs, his work with water in general, but his painting of Ivan the Terrible holding his dead son, who he redacted into anger, those eyes, truly great. Yeah, Ivan Shishkin as well. But Ilan Repin has a very special place in my heart. But thank you, Charlie Mackey, for $20 and Seneca again for $3. I feel the whole "you sold your soul for fusion cuisine" remark. I've been studying Missouri history in my family recently, and I feel so much more rooted than I did before. Well, that's, yeah. Someone has to clip that rant by Prude.
And there was this thing that Paul Fahrenheit had said. This was like one of his older tweets when I first got to know the guy. But like, it was so true. Like, if you go to like your county's like building, right, where they keep their records department, there is so much history, newspapers, microfilm that you can just go through and read about your own place, because there's hundreds of years of history that no one knows or gives a shit about. But if you live in that area, you should care. You know, like I'm not going to geographically dox myself, but like there are some really cool Civil War events not far from me that took place that I found out that my family was participated in. And I had no idea until I looked it up, and then I checked back on my my mom's cousin keeps like a huge book of genealogy and records, and I was like, wow, we actually participated in these things. So yeah, it's really important that you don't lose track of where you're rooted and where you're connected to.
Yeah, people, I notice that people, when it comes to the histories, I mean, I'm not that keyed into it. Like, I haven't read the Ken Burns stuff, although he's a terrible leftoid. But I notice like Texas is sort of like, there's other historical events with Texas that get overshadowed. But Texas participation in the Civil War, I know, tends to get overshadowed with the history, because everyone, you know, focused on Gettysburg and yeah. So
well, yeah, but I mean, it's still there, and I mean, plus like Texas was still very divided about the issue of the Civil War itself. I mean, a lot of the people that would help found the Republic and later the state were kind of forced out from politics as it is in the fervor to defend, you know, its sovereignty and also to join the Confederacy. And so, I mean, if you follow along sort of the Louisiana-Arkansas border, I mean, you've got the Red River Campaign, you've got the issues with Oklahoma as well. And technically, Oklahoma is the last place to surrender to the Union and its volunteers and fighting against the Union, and also because a lot of Indians had slaves. So stories like that, like you have to know your own history. You have to know your own region. Like, I've made it an effort, if I go on a long drive, anywhere I go, I always stop to see what the historical marker is on the side of the road. And I write it down, I take a picture of it, and I look it up later. And the stuff that you learn about it sends you down so many cool rabbit holes that you really appreciate the land that you're living on way more than some schmuck that enjoys just cuisine, right?
There's a term for people that focus on local history. It starts with a P. Penumbalist, somethingist. There's a term for people that focus intensely on like a local area. Not like local historians. There's another term for it. It's called P. If someone in the chat knows, I think there was a documentary on YouTube that had Russell Brand in it. It was called Penumbalist. I forget the term, but there's a documentary on it. But how did the indigenous people own slaves? Do they buy them, or do they?
I'd imagine so. I
mean,
I don't think Indians were kept out from that.
Funny how the Confederacy was.
But I'm also sure that they probably had fed slaves from other tribes. I don't know. I know Turnip knows more than I do.
Yeah. There is it's funny how the Confederacy wasn't racist against indigenous people or Jewish people. Very interesting.
Yeah, the early like the Jews in the South had a much different relationship than I mean, Jews in America had a way different relationship prior to Eastern European migration.
Is it parochialist? Parochialist? I think maybe it's
a parochialist.
There's a PB, so I forgot the exact term, but
a limited narrow outlook is parochialism.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, parochial history would be like local, narrow focused history, but I hear the word parochial and I think of like Catholic parish business.
Yeah. But yeah, also I neglected to mention one of my favorite Russian artists ever. My favorite Russian artist would obviously be Nikolai Rorish. Out of all the painters I've been inspired by, whether it be Munch, Pollock, the Group of Seven, I truly live to aspire to the mystical heights of Nikolai Roerich as a mystic and a painter, and his style, as well as something that I pay attention to as landscape painter as well. So, anyways, that was a good question by.
That was a good question.
Yeah. But Seneca had a great comment, and Owen Zaleski, our good friend, for $3 US. Where is it? Hello, gents. Please interview Owen Cyclops. I got my older brother the new book. Also, prayers for my brother and his wife. They're expecting their first child this week. Love your work. God bless. Oh, thank you, Owen Zaleski.
Oh, prayers towards your brother, and what a wonderful thing to hear that they're having their first. Congratulations. And yeah, I think talking to Owen would be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you're going to be an uncle, and pray for your family and your brother's family. That's always good to hear.
Absolutely.
And we have Bungo Man for $15. Aloha, gentlemen, long-time listener, first-time super chatter. Can't wait for Gio's book. The world is falling apart, and yet I haven't felt this optimistic about the future in a long time on a personal level. What gives y'all hope? Is there something that gives you guys hope?
God gets the last word.
God and content. That's what gives me hope. Exciting
God gets the
content.
last word, and we get to keep doing this. And
yeah,
I don't know. I get to live. It's like little apostaya meme. It's like reasons to live, spite. Your enemies. It's that old Michael Malice thing. They want you dead, but they'll settle for your submission. So every day that you don't do that, it's another day to keep going and to have hope. And I don't know. I'm uniquely optimistic because there's still so much to do, and the end is not here yet. So I have more to do.
There's so much content to make. There's so much paintings to paint. There's so much prints to make. There's so many things to do, and I think, despite our enemies, by still surviving is probably the best you can bet. But one white pill would be that people are coming around to our thinking. I feel like even normies are starting to at least partially wake up. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this year with the election, and as a Canadian, there's not much to hope for, but we'll see. God gets the last word. That's probably the best we could do. And for $5 by Owen Zaleski again, didn't swear at Gio. Don't sweat at Gio. As an artist myself, it's hard to keep up with work, and other obligations get in the way. Victor Vestinovsk. How do you say that? Vestnevstikov is a great Russian painter, as has been going around the sphere. Who would you build a statue of, and where would you put it? I will build a statue of Chris Chan. No, I used to say build a statue of Chris Chan and put it in Ruckersville, but I would probably build a statue of I would bring back the Johnny McDonald statue.
I was about to say that, or you, as a Canadian, you should do a George Grant statue.
And I would do a George Grant statue, and I would put it in McMaster University where he lectured. That's what I would do.
And for me, I think I would put one up of Buchanan.
Yeah.
Pat Buchanan. When we win, Pat Buchanan gets a statue.
There you go.
It's simple as that, for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of other edgier ones you could probably choose in American right-wing history.
Yeah, probably, but out of all my personal influences, Pat Buchanan would probably get one. Probably George Kennan would get one. I would build a huge cliff face, Geronimo style statue of Nikolai Roerich in the either the Chinese, the Polynesian, or Russian border, or in the Himalayas, probably. So there you go. And for oh wow, there's a lot of entropy ones. In anonymous for $15. I want to hear your take on the 4 humors and temperaments. Well, I think there's some validity to it a little bit. I think that there is people that their souls are colored by a different humor. Some people have very wet, soggy souls, but and some people have very fiery type of. But I'm not that well versed in the medieval humors as. Yeah, neither am I, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. I'd have to read something on it. Isn't there where would be the text? To read, right? Doesn't Conrad Hawk, right?
Yes. There's medievalists who write texts about the humors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because he was like a Catholic priest who wrote about it, right? Okay. Maybe
We're not
I just not something I know, but I'm not opposed to reading about it. So I won't say no to most things that people read me unless they're like, hey, read something that is clearly not good for your soul.
I think the humors are archetypal. I think they do. There are humors that do color a person's personality and their generally their trajectory in life. But I wouldn't want to take medical advice from them.
I wouldn't either.
Humors, yeah. Maybe sometimes antibiotics are a good thing. But the humors definitely are real in a spiritual sense, in my opinion. And finally, for the entropy ones, for $3 by Not Omegion. Toby Keith died. Oh, we didn't mention Toby Keith. R.I.P. to Toby Keith. Toby Keith died, and with my family members serving during the Go Wat. His music was a part of my childhood. It's nostalgic, but I still love the music as a representation of America that was and might be again.
Yep, so, I grew up with Toby Keith as well. I've seen him live more than once, thanks to the USO and the tours he did overseas at the time. So yeah, I've met Toby Keith. Had the pleasure of seeing him live. It definitely hurt to see him go, but it was a long battle with cancer. Yeah. He was diagnosed back in like 2006. So
wow, really?
Yeah, he was diagnosed early. It was a really long, ugly fight.
What type of cancer did he have?
It was a stomach cancer, if I recall correctly.
You usually don't live that long with stomach cancer. Wow.
He lived a long time. It was a long, ugly battle, and he would still perform quite well into. And I mean, he still gave songs and everything, and I'm sure he had periods of remission. But yeah, I grew up with him. I know that the global war on terror has got its problems. Lord knows that a lot of us regret it, and my whole like political socialization and as an adult has been trying to deconstruct and understand what I grew up with and what was right about it, what was wrong about it. But even that old style American jingoism doesn't exist anymore. And when you don't have that anymore, you've lost the mandate of identity and you've lost the mandate of a country. And yeah, he's dead. And may the
certain
Lord
liberals have, God rest his soul. Certain liberals have that jingoism, but for different reasons. Like Vaush has that American jingoism, but for
for like the CIA and trannyism. So I can't. I do not endorse,
Yeah.
Do not endorse.
But he also called Chris Christopherson a libtard, so that was pretty good. It's funny how they're doing the whole Hicklib thing with that story, allegedly, where he's like, I served in the war, I served in Vietnam, boy. Like, bro, you were stationed in Germany.
Yeah. Calm down, bro.
But yeah, R.I.P. to Toby Keith. I'm not a big country fan, but he was, I think, a symbol of an older America. And that, maybe might be again. So on to the YouTube super chats, if there's no more entropy super chats. For $4.99 by Joseph Niedermeyer. I wonder if only he's related to Scott Niedermeyer, the great hockey player for the New Jersey Devils. Prude, I'm the guy who offered to help with some YouTube analytics after Skildings. Finally go to it.
Yes, I know. I saw it, Joseph. Actually, you're the gentleman that sent me the Stalin's War thing, which I did upload and use. I'm thankful for. Yeah, I'll respond to your email. Do not worry.
All right.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. And Sam B for $10. Nothing says safe bad guy than my Nutsi. And I guess Russians and white people with Southern accents. So yeah, all of them are Austin Painter fans now. So there you go for $10. And of course, our good friend John Carter for $9.99. The Iowa GOP spent more money primarying Stephen King than even ever contributed to all of his campaigns combined, and all because he said we can't restore a civilization with other people's babies. Wow,
and he's right.
He's right.
But yeah, like Steve King before he's still a very big kingmaker. Like he's been at Trump rallies. He's been talking to Vivek Ramaswamy about these issues, about the Great Replacement, and he was he's like, what's so offensive about white supremacy? Steve King is our guy. As it is unfortunate, like honest to God, he should just run for Congress again and see what happens. Because like we lost Steve King, and you got George Santos before he got like kicked out in his little special election. But it's just like, bruh. We need 1 million Steve Kings in Congress is what we need.
Man. But no, but it's funny though. It is true. It is true what Bab said once, that it's just a historical truth that no empire has survived mass immigration. I mean, that's just a fact. You could like have any like Mary Beards, like lib history professors, but the reality is that mass immigration in an empire usually comes at the end of an empire for a variety of reasons.
We're pretty deep into the looting the treasury phase.
Yeah. So that's thank you very much, John Carter. And 199 by Gabe Underground, who will be on Content Minded. I just have to figure out the date next week because I'm busy this weekend, but probably early next week we're gonna record. I have to write bullet points. We're gonna record on a huge episode on Fish Tank Live. So 199 shit serious when the Hamlet quote comes out. Which Hamlet quote?
Yeah, when did we quote Hamlet today?
Yeah, when did we quote Hamlet? Interesting.
Did Paglia quote Hamlet? Did we miss it?
Maybe.
See, we're all spiritually Joe Biden, because if we did say it, I don't remember shit.
I don't remember. Yeah, and
but
angry
I mean,
place.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you were gonna say.
Oh, I was just gonna say this whole Biden news, man. Like this is like 25th Amendment grounds if they really wanted to do it, because like he's clearly not fucking there.
Well, I mean, isn't it kind of too late? I mean, it's the end of his. Wait, is this his first term?
He's running for re-election.
Oh, that's right, man. I had a brain fart.
But I mean, even if you 25th Amendment him, right? Like, okay, cool. President Kamala Harris, and that just makes you want to you go up the street, you don't cross the tracks. So,
you either get someone who is demented and doesn't know they're there, or someone who's stupid and will probably be controlled.
Well, I mean, it's just confirmation of what we already knew, that like he's a demented, senile old man that is clearly not running the country, and the people behind
Obama's running the country, probably.
Yeah. Well, to some extent, a lot of his old staffers are,
yeah, and Obama directly, probably.
Yeah, one big ass mistake.
Yep, and he really is the third term president. Didn't FDR have a third term?
FDR had 4.
Oh my God, that was like Mackenzie King.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we changed the Constitution because of him. Like,
Yeah. How many presidents had third terms? Just him?
Just him. He's the only one that ever bucked the tradition of just 2 terms. There have been presidents that have ran for 3rd terms, but never.
But didn't win.
Never. No. And then
so it was,
and Trump is trying to repeat what has only happened with one other president. And I'm trying to remember the name off the top of my head.
So you mean to tell me that?
Yeah, it was Grover Cleveland. Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that there was only a like tradition rather than encoded in law?
It was never encoded in the Constitution, but because of the tradition that was set out by someone like George Washington, everyone else kind of followed suit with it. 2 terms. That was what you did, and then you were done. And then FDR said, "Fuck that,"
It's a war we gotta fight.
It's a bunch of commies I gotta suck off, and my wife's a dyke. And it's like, yeah, so like he fundamentally transformed the country for the worse and helped support and fund and build up the Soviet Union and had a bunch of
other edgier things I could say.
And other edgier things that one could say. But and unironically, though, by sheer happenstance of him just stroking out in the office, Harry Truman unironically like laughs in Oppenheimer's face about all sorts of shit, and then learns, oh, there's a lot of commies in my government. Fuck.
I don't have a tissue, but I can get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Tissue, Oppenheimer. Son, when they talk about the bomb, they're not going to think about you.
I'm the one that dropped it.
Oh boy. It's fun. I mean, FDR. His wife was a lesbian?
Allegedly.
Do they have children?
Allegedly.
Do they have children? I think they must have had children.
They had children, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
they had 6 kids, one of whom died in infancy.
Wow, 6 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, she was probably bi. Well, I mean, all lesbians are.
But she also, there are allegations that she was cheating on him with a man.
She had a female lover.
And other things.
And a
like
man,
that.
and a man.
And a man. But like,
this is pure Trudeau territory right here.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's all fake and gay, and my country is a shit show.
Yeah. An angry place for PL. What's PLN?
The People's Liberation Navy?
What currency is that?
Oh, PLN. Oh, sorry. I'm fucking retarded. Isn't this the Polish zloty?
They still have the zloty? I thought they signed on to the euro.
Well, isn't PLN. This is what it looked up on Google. So yes, we have Polish fans.
So for 10,
have I Ottomans in game? No, I have not.
Is that about Turkey or is it about
the Ottoman Empire?
Oh, interesting. It's funny how the Ottoman Empire declined, but
anyway. The books I have read by McMeekin is July 1914, The Russian Revolution, and I've read Stalin's War, but I'm going through it for the YouTube series. I haven't read anything else that he's done. I know he's got a book on the history of communism that just came out this year, or come out this year. It's expected to come out in September. I'm excited for that one because out of all the like mainstream historians that you could get out there, Sean McMeekin is the closest thing to an hour guy you can get. But no, I haven't read the Ottoman Endgame one, but I have read the other 3 that I mentioned.
Yeah, history's been totally colonized as a discipline. Like even like you have neocons like Anna Applebaum who are just like libs now because of Russia. So like her book on the history of communism, my old man read it. He really liked it, but I'm like,
because of Russia, not because she doesn't have some ethnic blood grievance.
Of course.
Thanks, Radislav Sikorsky. Anyways,
there you go. Lou Templar, good friend, for $2. Stop blackpilling. I'll try. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, you still gotta like be bullish about things. Like I said this in the D space. Like I kind of defend blackpillers a little bit. I mean, there's warrantless blackpilling, but then sometimes I don't know. Sometimes reality is pretty harsh.
Yeah, reality is pretty harsh, but I mean, I had this conversation privately with Morgoth. I don't think I'm revealing anything that's like personal or anything. I thought that this was particularly interesting because I had when I did that video about eschatology or meteorologist for the eschaton, and I just told him I just asked, and I was like, I don't know about you, about your comment section, but I was like, dear God, I said people are really black-pilled.
Mm-hmm.
And and he's just like, yeah, he's like, it's really rough. He's quoting from his essay where he says, for the woman crying into her iPhone in her car after another 12-hour shift that will be snatched straight out of her bank account, there must be a profound sense of impending doom because no life exists outside of the commodified one and a great gaping existential chasm that now opens up below her. No sustenance is to be found in tradition, but now the great god of materialism has proved to be nothing more than just a floating giant stone head of Zerdaz. Even the rhetoric used by the woman in these videos signals an abandonment by a deity or surrounding a faith system. I did everything I could. What am I supposed to do now? I can't go on like this. I just feel for them. And I mean, it's funny because he and I, of course, have radically different views, but it was funny. There was this guy that commented on one of my videos where he's like, when Prude does like a black pill video and it's got like a smiley face, and it's like when Morgoth does a black pill video and it gets like it's like a really sad face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe it is my predisposition in my Christianity, and you can call that cope or whatever. I really don't give a shit. But it is true. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that makes this look very difficult. And I mean, and especially if you are a Christian, right? Like we're called to be like childlike in our respect and our relation to the Lord. Hard to be childlike when in the back of your head you have all this knowledge that's like, oh man, things are really bad, and you're just like, oh shit. And so like that's really terrifying, right? That's a really concerning thing. And at the end of the day, either you accept that whatever is going to pass is going to pass, or that you can from here until the end of your days or the end times or whenever they may be, you still have a lot of work to do, and the master wants to see you working. So we have work to do regardless.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably the best take there is. I mean, there's a lot of things we have to get done in this world before the next, and whatever happens, and just trust that in the end, good people shall win, and the Lord shall inherit the earth. So yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bad things, but I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I get too far in the black pilling. But anyways, wow. So $5 for Luth Templar. $5. 5 Marines were redacted in a training mission. The U.S. military has redacted more friendlies than the enemies this month. Wow.
Yes, 5 Marines lost their lives in a helicopter crash in a training accident.
Where was this?
California, if I remember correctly.
Oh man. Well, pray for them. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's tragic.
Yeah, it was in California, helicopter crash.
Yeah. But anyways, man, that is depressing. But anyways, so $9.99 by our good friend John Carter. $9.99. I'm surprised Gio hasn't mentioned lo-fi Republicans' threat on liberal women and their obsession use of my RPist.
Oh no, it's just the whitest kids you know, the grapist. You know,
yeah, the whitest kids.
I want to grape you in the mouth. Yeah, like whoa, how did this ever pass the board? And what do you mean, you sick?
The 2000s were a different time.
That was a different time. There was this like shit post I saw where someone was like, "I'm so glad that I grew up with like Dr. House MD and not whatever this like skippity toilet shit is." And it's like, yeah, same. That's great.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was an impressive thread because like they really love invoking the term my
whatist, yeah.
I mean, like there was a whole show, like talking live show where like a woman and like her quote unquote like rapist were like talking about consent and things like that. And it's just like, at what point is this not
disturbing and lurid and spectacle?
A fetish show for you?
Yeah.
Which raises, well, I mean, if you know any basic red pill manosphere stuff, like you already know the answer to this, and you're just like, yep, that's women for you.
They got drunk, and it's probably yeah.
And you woke up, and then you took it back, and then you get off on the idea that like, oh, anyways. And are there any other super chats, Gio?
Oh yes.
We look at the chasm of black pills that is a modern woman.
Yep. I gotta read that thread. I only read the first tweet. $4 by our good friend Gabe Underground. Prude saying wood to the nostalgia chick. Was it on my bingo card?
I'm full of surprises.
And $1.99 by Gabe again. Gio, what are your thoughts on Bowden's painting? One day I shall break them down. I wanted to.
That would be a fantastic content-minded solo show.
Oh yeah,
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Oh yeah,
I like your solo shows because it's like this, but I'm not there and I get to just listen.
Now that I have to remind myself, I really like his paintings. They're very like schizo and yeah, they're very. I believe Countercurrents Press has published a book with all of his artwork. So I think the forward is by, or the editor and the forward is by Nick Jeevely.
I think so.
Yeah. Again, another man we have a disagreement with in terms of the current war, but I admire, like I do commend Nick's for compiling a forgotten aspect of Bowden's corpus. I think it's very important what he did. So with Countercurrent, and like I say, listen, I don't agree with a lot of things that Countercurrents as a whole says, but I do admire good scholarship, and Countercurrents has published a lot of quality work over the years. So, yeah, I will definitely buy the book, and I will definitely review it on Content Minded. So, and for one day, our good friend KJ Gio, do a Shillathon stream when the book releases. Yes, I will do a Shillathon stream. Of course, I will. Of course. That's a good idea. My publisher actually came up with a good idea for all of the artworks that I reference. He goes, why can't you just, like, if people have their phone while they're reading, just put QR codes in the footnotes? And so I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. That'll, because it gets over copyright and stuff. And it's also more expensive to publish a book with images too. So, you know. And Subject to Change for $49 for a good super sticker. Thank you, Subject to Change. Thank you so much. And I have a few more left. Where is it? Here it is. Our good friend Mike of Paul for $10. Had to miss most of the stream, but everything I saw is mint. Incoming prude psychotic.
Let's go. Let's go.
Dark Ages.
I knew that Mike would follow through. Thank you, sir. That's what I wanted.
I can't. We're gonna shill that on stream. When
I'm gonna shill the shit out of that. It'll be great.
Make a note to.
I will. The issue is that we'll have to do it somewhere else, because if we do it on the air, we'll get a copyright claim because it's the little Dark Age. But
well, we'll have to do it without sound, maybe.
Yeah, but still, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll just do the sound ourselves.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And Sergey Lewis for $9.99. The spirit of the left liberal seems more and more likely disgusted apathy. Why do you care why someone does if it doesn't even affect you personally? Remember that woman? And is he bothering you? The homeless drug addict. Is he bothering you? That was
take the lid off this cup if he's bothering you. You know, just it's
one day he will bother me. Yes,
one day he will bother me, but right now, today's not that day. You know, like it's the never
apathy.
It's not even apathy, but also antipathy. Just like dismissive, like screw you. You know, it's the hypocrisy that comes with all leaps and bounds of sort of that telescopic liberalism.
Having a disordered worldview as well is probably yeah. How does this affect you personally? That's like
the smuggies. Like I know that's a whole like Reddit tier thing, but like r/smuggies, like you know, like how does that make you feel? How does this affect you personally? Like why don't you just become an atheist? It's like how about you just seek Canadian healthcare?
Oh boy. Yep, and for $5 by Lou Templar, my mother recently gave me an art collection from the Soviet artist Ilan Glusnov. Never heard of him before. It's great stuff. Check it out, Gio. I will check it out. Lou Templar.
Yeah, he's been posting some stuff in the little Telegram chat I have that you can look at later.
Ilya
Glazunov. Fun.
Glazunov. Soviet Russian artist from St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Oh my God, that's incredible. Like his Orthodox painting one.
Yeah.
With all the saints. Wow, that's incredible. But it's like it's like a post-apocalyptic thing, and Christ is in the center, and
yeah, it does have a post-apocalyptic vibe to it. Yeah.
He has a very unique style of figuration as well. That's very like of that era of Soviet artwork. His still lifes of Orthodox women are very, incredible. Then the one with the communist star, but it's got Lenin, it's got the TV with the next where Gorbachev is next to Maggie Thatcher and Bush Sr. and has Christ in the background of Lenin. And this is incredible mural work. Incredible stuff. Anyway, thank you, Lou Templar. Wow. And Gabe Underground for $49. Herbert Hoover deserves a statue and apology for publicly calling FDR and his bull on the radio every step of the war and post-war in print. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Although Herbert Hoover was kind of a disaster, though, during the Depression.
Also, I would give Garrett Garrett a statue, now that we're talking about it. I'd give Garrett Garrett a statue.
I know a lot of libertarians hate Herbert Hoover, you know? Like Mises hated Herbert Hoover.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how they feel about him, but I know Garrett Garrett's on the Mises Institute.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I've just been informed that you had replied to Radfem Hitler saying that you actually like a huge part of this. Maybe I read on show.
Who said that to you?
I have the screenshot, Gio, of you replying to Radfem Hitler.
No, yeah, I reply occasionally.
I'm not telling you who sent this to me.
It was Charlie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Charlie.
Oh my god.
It's a racist mutual of mine that goes to church with me.
Oh my god.
And he says, "Caught his ass in 4K."
It was a good thread that was about male energy. It was actually pretty good. I will read it on. I'm going to read it on Content Minded. Just to. Anyways. Oh, I have a PayPal one for $10 by Confused and Delay. Fun time, Gio. Glad you have a PayPig pal, as I don't do Google. Salute, good sir. 07. Prude, I mean, it was. You got to read the thread. It's a good thread.
No.
It's a good thread.
No.
Anyways. Matt. Well, anyways. Okay. So, it was a good thread. Anyways.
Okay.
When the Content Minded comes out,
I block. There are like 5 women on Twitter that I don't have blocked. Radfem Hitler is not one of them.
Okay. 199 by John Carter. Imagine if Bill Cosby had done ads for grape juice. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, I'm more of a pudding pop nationalist myself.
Oh my god. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And finally, how do you spell it? Buchanan Man for $5. Love you guys. Your insights remind me of Tech War Fan podcast Campbot used to do, but better in so many ways. I actually quite like Warren. Warren is a good friend. I wonder what happened to him. But
well, we appreciate the compliment, sir.
We appreciate the compliment. So hopefully I will not go out of control. But
and hopefully we will not call out like logo Campbots.
Gio's been outed.
Is that dynamic of like the lanky straight man and then like the energetic rotund? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It was Logo and Campbot. It's me and Gio. It's Nightmare Vision and Future Moldovan Citizen. Yeah. It's Mr. D and Academic Agent. It's
there. You go. Yeah.
The Laurel and Hardy trope is like very Lindy. It's all
very Lindy. Yeah, it's archetypal. Yeah.
It's archetypal.
You guys are mean, Radfem Kohler. You guys are bad.
I'm pretty sure he's in the middle of a law school lecture right now, and he has no idea that I read his tweet on air.
I've been informed she's actually a very lovely person in real life.
I'm sure.
Anyway,
you're doing that Carlos tweet where he's like, in real life, most women are generally nice.
That's very true.
Although that is true.
Anyways, thank you. This has been a great episode, and looking forward to record another solo Content Minded. I also have to record one with Gabe Underground on Fish Tank Live. And Prude, what do you got going next week?
I will have a new video essay out next week, and then maybe then we'll have the Digital Archipelago on my channel next week. So stay tuned for that. And so a new video essay out on Substack. There's a new episode of Stalin's War out early if you are a patron and a subscriber. There's also an exclusive reading and reaction to the Californian ideology from what's it called? The Metamute magazine from 1995. So you can go listen and hear my reaction to that. And I would recommend that you read that article anyways. I had King Pilled and Cooper Brooks on the channel just the other day. It was a lot of fun talking to them, getting to hear more about their views of the PayPal Mafia and that spirit of entrepreneurship and how this is affecting American politics and all the factions of quote unquote the elite. And then, if you're new to me, by all means, subscribe. My links are down below in the description.
Nice. And hopefully come out with an episode next week, and we'll see you then. And I'm kind of tired. And tonight we're all anticipating the Tucker Carlson interview. And
I'll be on Pony Express Radio later tonight with the Old Glory Club.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. This has been great. And we truly appreciate all the support. And, as we always say, God bless. Goodbye to sweet.
See you, gents.